version of the interceptors are costing something close to $111 million. And just compare it with one drone costing $20,000 for one Shahid 136, which I am given to understand of late because of mass production which Iran is undertaking. It has come down substantially, something close to $2,000 to $4,000. So therefore, when you talk about the cost, there is a cost spillover or spiking of the cost in respect of USA and Israel. Number two, the time required to manufacture an interceptor is between 1.5 to 3 years. As on today, the entire defense infrastructure and the industry in USA, they have raised their hands. They require something close to 3 to 5 years to make up the deficit or the depleted stockpile. Third and most important thing is every interceptor, every weapon platform that America has today, whether it is Patriot missile or Tomahawk missile or any of the call about the Virginia class or F-35 aircraft, every platform of these kinds, they require a huge quantum of rare earth element and a specialized carbon that is being processed only by one country, that is China. So since China has weaponized supply of these kind of products, therefore refurbishing or making up the deficiencies which have been created by virtue of depletion of the stockpile is going to take a long time. Okay. So there are three factors which are contributing to justify as to why this kind of restarting the conflict cannot sustain itself. In case of Iran, they have a huge stockpile. They have been underestimated. Talk about the drones or talk about the supersonic missiles or the ballistic missiles or the hypersonic missiles. They stand a very bright chance and better chance than the USA and Israel. So under these circumstances, Donald Trump knows for sure that he has got many handicaps which are going against his forces. And it is simply an impulsive or arbitrary or kind of a bulldozing his way through simply to satisfy his frustration over no progress in the talk. The last point that you made is that so much of time has passed. Yes, 2 months have passed, but in 2 months' time, such a complex issue cannot come to a sustainable and viable kind of a peace agreement which will promise a lasting peace in times ahead. Back to you.
Thanks a lot, Major General Sudhakar, because even while the strikes were conducted, he made a statement that the negotiations are on, and now he's making such a statement. Let's wait for other reactions in this case. Now, we have another big breaking news development in this case. After the statement now, the markets are reacting. The Indian market, Sensex Nifty crashed after Trump says the ceasefire is over. The Nifty is down 400 points. The Sensex crashes 1,250 points. This is huge. Banks, FMCG, auto stocks crash over 1.5%, and the oil prices have also spiked as West Asia burns again. So this is the reaction when it comes to the market because of the ongoing war. This war doesn't benefit anyone, especially when it comes to the markets and Indian markets also. We'll have to wait for the update on the world markets, but this is Indian markets reacting to, there's a bloodbath in the Indian markets. The Sensex Nifty crash after Trump says ceasefire is over. Nifty is down by 400 points, but Sensex has crashed 1,250 points. That's a big crash when it comes to Sensex, and 400 points is also big when it comes to Nifty. The sectors which have been seriously impacted here are banks, the banking sector, the FMCG stocks, and when you talk about auto stocks crash because it's dependent on oil, and over 1.5%. They are down 1.5%, and oil prices spike as West Asia burns once again. So this is the reaction when you get to the market of the war that is between Iran and United States of America, and especially the statement that has come from Donald Trump. All right, Rishita joins us from the digital newsroom with all the latest updates when it comes to the market. Rishita, what's the current update on the market, the Nifty, the Sensex and the stocks? Over to you for the update on the markets, Rishita.
Thank you so much. Well, very rightly put, the Indian stock market is experiencing a bloodbath. So as of now, Nifty 50 stands at 23,969, which is a decline of 1.76%. And Sensex stands at 76,754, which is a decline of 1.8%. In terms of the sectors, FMCG, auto, IT are witnessing a loss of more than 1%. Now, if we talk about stocks in general, stocks in particular, we have Indigo, which has been dropped by over 2.4%. Asian Paints as well has slipped by 2.5%, and even Geo Financial Services are down by 3.0%. And yes, this has been because of the rise of crude oil prices. Another interesting factor and another very alarming factor is the fact that the India VIX index, which started at 7% in the morning, is now at a whopping 27%, which proves that the entire stock market, the entire market trajectory is in an extremely tumultuous stage.
Yeah, you were highlighting the stocks related to aviation sector, if I'm not wrong, and oil stocks, auto stocks, which somewhat all these stocks are directly related to each other. And especially if the war is back again, the aviation sector will be deeply impacted as it was earlier. The auto stocks and also the oil price will be again sky high. Rishita.
Absolutely. There's also a chance of the Fed rates going up, and that might also worsen the situation for the Indian stock market.
What about the FMCG sector? Exactly how is it getting impacted? Fertilizers, is that the issue?
Absolutely. The FMCG sector right now is at below 2%, and it is going through a stage where it is going to get plummeted over the time period.
Okay, Rishita, do you think this is going to continue and there will be more bloodbath in the Indian markets and the world markets also, but specifically about the Indian markets, will there be more bloodbath?
Yes, I think so, absolutely. I feel like even with the Asian markets in general, the Asia Pacific in general hasn't been doing really well. For example, you have Japan's benchmark Nikkei that has fallen by 0.55%, while even the Topix has declined by 0.7%. So this is an extremely concerning stage for the Indian stock market today.
All right, thanks a lot, Ritika, for all the latest updates. Keep a track on all the latest developments. We'll come back to you as more details emerge. All right, viewers, now it's time to slip into a short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. We have a lot more lined up for you after a short commercial break. Coming up next, all details on all top national and international breaking news developments coming up next.
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates. IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े।
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk tonight about an incident where an FIR got registered against 4 people. This is an incident which has happened in Madhya Pradesh, in Ujjain, and there is this strange video which shows a van suspended about 40 feet in the air. And it's suspended with a crane, some kind of a huge big crane. And there are explosives which are put inside this van, and then the van is detonated. Watch this very carefully, ladies and gentlemen. This is apparently during a Muharram procession, where the organizers fill a car with explosives, lift it 40 feet in the air with explosives, put a slogan on the vehicle saying, "Le fir aa gaye," which means, "Look, we are back." And then they explode the van. And at that point of time, there are posters put, there's a lot of mayhem. It's also seen in the video that there are two people who are waving red flags before the blast. And the car is detonated mid-air amidst the spectators. There are videos from an Instagram account which also show a young man performing other explosion-related stunts, such as filling a drum with explosives and blasting it. And there are intense explosives used out there. This is all a celebration of explosions. These are not fireworks, let me tell you this, viewers. Now, the police arrested the accused, and there was a procession of the accused also taken out. The accused identified as one Shoaib, Zahid Khan and Taslim. Shoaib organized the event, and Zahid and Taslim were the ones. Shame on Meta. Shame on Mark Zuckerberg. I'm talking about what Meta is doing to our children. I'm talking about sexual abuse, pedophilia, and child pornography being encouraged by Mark Zuckerberg. Algorithmically, they are directing users to channels where sexual abuse material is being sold. This is not content moderation failure. This is commercialization of child sexual abuse. When we follow it up, we are told we cannot remove this content because according to Facebook, this does not go against their community standards. I say to Meta, you're being told to fall in line. You must not just atone, you must pay. You must explain why you allowed this child sexual abuse to continue. You must answer, you must not run. You're answerable to the people of India. And the people are asking you, if you want to continue to do this, don't seek a justification for it. For the people of India will not allow you to get away with child sexual abuse.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा, राजा और मसाला, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो, मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ, स्वाद आया?
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday I said that Bhagwant Man's problem is that in the process of covering up one lie, he is lying a second time. So to cover two lies, he lies a third time and a fourth time. And now he's in a big trap. He is doing everything possible to save his job. But it's going to become more and more difficult for him. Plus, I think he has some very foolish advisors. You see, this controversy is about a younger Bhagwant Mann. He's about 52 years now, 52 or 53. And the video apparently goes back to the time he was 39 years old. This is a video he's released. Let me first show you the other video, the controversial video. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a picture of Bhagwant Mann at the age of 39. And visibly, over the last 13 years, he's aged. There's nothing wrong with that. We all age. But there's a distinct difference in facial appearance. I'd like to show you a picture of Bhagwant Mann at present, which is about 52, 53 years old. And Bhagwant Mann on the other side at the age of 39, when he was a performer. Well, he is still a performer in a way. But there's a distinct physical difference. A, he's put on a lot of weight. His face is much more puffy. He's older. He's wearing a turban. He was not wearing a turban at that time. Not always, at least. Not always photographed with a turban. And so there's a distinct difference. So if you see the
viewers, a very good afternoon. You're watching Republic. I'm Chongtham Amrita, and in a gruesome manner, a 12-year-old girl was raped and killed and thrown in a pond. And this happened a few days ago in West Bengal, in Baripur area, where the main accused have been arrested and now killed in a police encounter while the police was trying to recreate a scene of how that took place. That again shows the Bengal government's resolve for zero tolerance in such kind of gruesome murder of rape and murder of such minors. We're tracking all of these details and more, but first take a look at the headlines. Trump makes huge statement, says Iran's ceasefire is over, calls Iranians liars and scum. Republic investigation forces Meta to issue detailed India-specific response on child sexual abuse content available in its platform despite repeated flagging. Meta goes all defensive, refuses to take ownership for removal of child sexual abuse content after Republic's big expose. Republic continues investigation in Meta's child sexual abuse scandal after the social media giant refuses to take down disturbing content. Baripur rape and murder accused shot dead in police encounter during crime scene reconstruction. FIR registered and 3 arrested in doctor assault case. Shiv Sena Shinde leader Ramesh Mahastre still not arrested. United States judges jailed Indian gangster Lawrence Bishnoi and his aide Goldie Brar in the murder case of Khalistani separatist Hardip Singh Nijjar. Viewers, we begin with a major breaking story at the moment. A key Lashkar-e-Taiba commander has been killed in an encounter between security forces and terrorists in Jammu and Kashmir Shopian district. Now, Zakir Ganai, he was one of the 2 terrorists who were first spotted by surveillance cameras on July 3 in a dense orchard in the area. Now, his body has been recovered, marking a significant breakthrough for security forces in the massive anti-terror operation, which has been going on for 5 days. Now, meanwhile, search operations also remain underway for the other terrorists. In a major police encounter, where a major Lashkar terrorist has been killed in the police encounter, and now major search operations are also being carried out. This happened in Shopian district of Jammu and Kashmir, a major anti-terror crackdown where a Lashkar terrorist has been killed. The man has been identified as Zakir Ganai, and search operations are still being carried out for the other. Now, viewers, I'm joined by my colleague Zinat to give us more details in this. Zinat, thank you so much for joining us, and I'd like more details into how this encounter took place. We know that an LET terrorist has been gunned down in the police encounter, and a separate search operation are also being carried out in Shopian district. Can you give us a brief breakdown of the latest developments in Shopian district?
See, I'll take you to the visuals on the ground that we're showing you, that this is the encounter area where the Jawans of Indian Army are holding the ground for the last 5 days. The men and machinery on the ground. Then you see the quadcopter, the aerial surveillance being done to see that everything is under radar and nothing goes out of sight. You see the security forces. This is Jawans of the Indian Army. We are seeing 55 RR, 20 RR, 3 para, which is a special commando force of the Indian Army. They are holding the fort along with the SOG of Jammu and Kashmir Police. The Indian Army Jawans are taking care of the entire area. This operation started on Saturday evening when the firefight was between the terrorists and the joint security forces. That today morning a dead body of a terrorist, A++ category LET commander Zakir Ganai has been recovered from these orchards only, although the dead body of the terrorist was stinking. That tells you that he was neutralized a day before or so. But today morning when the Indian Army were carrying the search operation in the entire area, his body was found along with arms and ammunition. Then the body was taken into the custody by the Jammu and Kashmir Police, being the local force head, so to take care that nothing goes out of sight. We are seeing still the cordon and the search being maintained by the Indian Army along with the other forces. Although, as per the intelligence reports that suggest that 2 terrorists were earlier trapped, one whose body has been recovered and the second one is still in the area. Whether he has been neutralized or he's hiding, for which the hunt is on. The Jawans of the Indian Army we see holding the holding the ground here when it comes to Chanapora encounter. This is Shopian, South Kashmir, some 100 kilometers, 85 to 90 kilometers from the Srinagar city, and here the security forces are on the ground for the last 5 days. Because if you remember the visual that we played on Saturday evening, the visual of the CCTV camera where the 2 terrorists were spotted and then the search was extended. One of the terrorists who was seen in that very CCTV footage has been killed. He's been identified, a local terrorist from the Kulgam, which is an adjoining district from here. That is, he has been neutralized. Indian Army maintaining the ground, and also they are taking the search to other villages as well. Although the situation remained normal on the ground, but we are seeing an anti-terror operation in the Kashmir Valley after 8 months. Last time it was in October, where 2 terrorists were neutralized in Kulgam. And now, after months search, because we have seen in these months extensive CASOs in multiple districts, in the areas, in the forest belt, finally the breakthrough was on Saturday evening when the firefight was witnessed. This time terrorists did not escape because the kind of cordon, the setup was made by the Indian Army to see that all routes get sealed and terrorists did not get a chance to escape. So this is more like coming as a booster shot in the arms of the security forces, where a terrorist had been neutralized, the body had been recovered, there has been no collateral damage on the ground. That tells you the determination and also a success. After 5 days of hard work, a dead body has been recovered.
That's right. A massive anti-terror operation also being conducted across the region. It has intensified since the past few days. Thank you so much, Janet, for all of those details. We'll continue to track this story and get back to you for more updates. And viewers, we move on to another story that's coming in from West Bengal, the gruesome rape and murder of a minor. Prabhas Mondal, the key accused in the rape and murder of the 12-year-old girl in Baruipur, West Bengal, was killed in a police encounter in the early hours of Wednesday morning. Now, authorities stated that officers had transported Mondal to the site of the crime late last night as part of a formal reconstruction process when the incident occurred. According to the police, the situation escalated when the accused seized an officer's service weapon and fired a shot before attempting to flee. Now, in response, the police returned fire. Mondal was wounded in the exchange and was rushed to a nearby hospital where he was pronounced dead upon arrival. This, again, the main accused of the rape and murder of a 12-year-old girl, and where she was gang raped, in fact, according to reports, and she was thrown mercilessly in a pond there on your visual, and that was how she was recovered. This took place a few days ago in West Bengal, and therefore a formal crime scene reconstruction. The police took the main accused there in the region, and he tried to flee by attempting to grab a service weapon of one of the police officers who was handling him, and in the exchange of fire he was shot and he was brought to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. Again, this highlights a zero tolerance of rapists, and this is again a double crime. In fact, rape and murder of a 12-year-old girl. And some of the visuals that Republic has access of Prabhas Mondal, the key accused, and we're also getting reports that there were some other accused, that accomplices who was also involved in this crime, and the police are still continuing search operations for them. And viewers, Republic has also filed a report from the encounter site where the accused was shot dead after an alleged attempt of open firing at the police. Let's take a look at the report.
And from here, injured Prabhas Mandal was sent to Badipur District Hospital, and there he was declared dead at the hospitals by the attending doctor. This is the encounter spot, and just opposite of us, that was another cordon of area. That was the actual PO, place of occurrence, where that 10 years girl were drowned by the accused persons. That area also cordoned up by district police. However, one person also arrested at this rape and murder case named Kabir Molla alias Prabir. At this rape and murder case, one person is also arrested, and the violence case, in the violence case, 20 persons arrested by district police. This is the area where Shurjapur, under Badipur police stations area, this is the cordon of area where the encounter was happened.
And viewers, we are also getting reactions coming in from the mother and wife of the accused. Let's listen in what they had to say about the whole incident.
বলছে আপনার ছেলের নাম প্রভাস মণ্ডল। হ্যাঁ, তা আপনার ছেলে মারা গেছে, আপনি দেখতে চান? হাসপাতালে আছে, দেখে। আমি বলছি না, আমি আর দেখতে চাই না, আমি দেখে আর কি করব, আর আমার যাবার শক্তি নেই, আমার গলা শুকিয়ে যাচ্ছে, বলতে পারছি না। হ্যাঁ, তাই বলছে আমার যাওয়ার শক্তি নেই, আমি যাব না, তোমরা থাকো। বলছে ওর তো আই কার্ড লাগবে। তাই বলেছি দেখো আমি সব কোথায় আই কার্ড জানি না, আমার কষ্ট, মার তো কষ্ট হবে, আমি সে কষ্ট দরকার নেই, ও যা কর্ম করেছে তাতেই গেছে, আমার শান্তি।
মানে ও যে নাবালিকার সঙ্গে যে অত্যাচার করেছে
তাতেই ওর মৃত্যু হয়ে গেছে, ভালোই হয়েছে।
আপনারা কি মৃতদেহ আনতে যাবেন?
না, আমার কেউ যাওয়ার নেই, আমি যেতে পারবো না, মৃতদেহ আমি আনবো না। আমি তো বললাম আর আমরা দেখতে চাই না, একদম দেখতে চাই না। তোমরা ওখানে নিয়ে থেকে নাও, গুদমে দেবে, কোথায় দেবে, ফেলে দেবে, দিয়ে যাবে, কেউ যাবে না। দেখো আমি আর ওসব কিছু বলতে পারবো না। ও যে গেলে আমাদের কথা শুনি, বিশেষ করে মার কথা যদি না শুনি, নিজে নেশা ভাঙ করে, তা আমার অত আর কিচ্ছু বলার নেই।
বলতে ও তো নোংরা মতো এমনি ছিল, তো বিশ্বাস করার কিছু মতন নেই, বুঝেছো?
আচ্ছা,
যে ও করবে না কি এটা আমি বলতে পারছি না যে করেনি।
আচ্ছা,
কেন এরকমই আমার বিয়ে পরেও আমি ওর নোংরামও দেখেছি, অনেক অত্যাচার করে আমি এখন সংসার করছি, তো এটা আমি মানে মেনেই নিয়েছি যে ও করেছে।
আচ্ছা, এই যে পুলিশের গুলিতে মারা গেল, কিছু বলবেন?
না, ও অন্যায় করেছে, ও দোষ করেছে, ও হচ্ছে গুলি খেয়েছে, এটা বলার কিছু নেই।
আচ্ছা, আপনি কি চাইছেন এখন?
কি চাইছি বলতে যে ওখানে তো বারুইপুরে আমাদের যেতে বলছে, যাবো।
স্বামীর দেহ নেবেন?
মেয়ে বলতে যদি রাজি, বাড়ির লোক সবাই রাজি হয় তো আনা হবে।
আচ্ছা, আপনার কয় সন্তান?
একটা ছেলে।
আচ্ছা।
And viewers, the victim's father has hailed Bengal Chief Minister Suvendu's efforts in handling this case and reiterated his full faith on the government and the police as well. Let's listen into the bite of the victim's father.
পুরো রাস্তা আছে, সরকারের পুরো রাস্তা ভরসা আছে, সিএম কালকের কথা দিয়েছে যাবে সেভাবে যেভাবে কাজ চালিয়ে যাচ্ছে, আমরা খুব খুশি, অত্যন্ত খুশি। সিএম পুরো ফুল ভরসা আছে আমাদের।
আচ্ছা, তো পুলিশকে লক্ষ্য করে পোয়াস গুলি চালাতে গেছিল?
না, ওটা আমি বলতে পারছি না, আমি তো সেই অবস্থা ছিলাম না তখন।
একদম এনকাউন্টার, একজন
টোটালি এর বেশি কিছু বলতে পারছি না, আমি পরিস্থিতি অন্যরকমই ছিলাম তখন।
আচ্ছা, এটা শুনেছেন?
শুনেছি, এক্ষুনি তেমন কিছু শুনিনি, আমি একটু অন্য ব্যস্তর মধ্যে আছি, তো চতুর্দিক থেকে সব বুঝতে পারছেন, আপনারা সবাই আসছেন।
পুলিশের ভূমিকা একদম
পুলিশের উপরে পুরো ফুল ভরসা আছে, পুলিশ না থাকলে আমরা এত এগোতে পারতাম না।
পুলিশ যেভাবে তদন্ত করছে, 4 জনই তো অ্যারেস্ট হয়ে গেল।
খুশি, তাতে খুশি। আরো যারা আছে তারা অ্যারেস্ট হবে, দোষীদের শাস্তি হোক, এটুকু আমি চাইছি। দাদাও এই জিনিসটা খুব মাথায় রেখেছে, দাদা আমার ভরসা দিয়েছে, দাদার ওর ফুল ভরসা আছে। ওর যে সিএম আছে না, ওনাকে দাদা বলে আমরা সম্মান করি, দাদা ফুল ভরসা দিয়েছে, ওনার ওর ফুল বিশ্বাস, আশা, ভরসা সব আছে।
বাকি 3 জন আমি
কঠোরভাবে সাজা চলছি, দাদা বলে তুমি শুধু আমার কাজ দেখে নাও। আর সত্যি দাদার ওপর আমাদের ভরসা আছে। খুশি আপনারা? আপনি খুব খুশি।
And viewers, we shift our focus to the war that's brewing now from Iran. Now, Donald Trump has attacked several sites He claims that strikes as retaliatory. Now, tensions between the US and Iran have escalated once again as President Donald Trump has ordered strikes on multiple targets in Bandar Abbas, which is Iran's strategic port city on the Strait of Hormuz. The United States also says that these are retaliatory actions following recent provocations, as they claim from Iran, saying that Iran has struck several bases along the Strait of Hormuz. This as the ceasefire between Iran and the US has officially come to an end after Donald Trump's announcement. Let's take a look at this report.
The United States military says it has launched airstrikes against Iran as explosions were reported in several locations in the south of the country. The U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, said the strikes began on June 7th and are being conducted in response to Iranian attacks on 3 commercial vessels that were transiting the Strait of Hormuz.
U.S. Central Command forces have begun launching a series of powerful strikes against Iran to impose heavy costs for targeting and attacking commercial shipping crewed by innocent civilians in an international waterway. The U.S. strikes are in response to Iranian attacks on 3 commercial vessels that were transiting the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's demonstrated aggression was unwarranted, dangerous, and a clear violation of the ceasefire.
Iranian media reported several explosions in the southern port city of Sarik, where projectiles were said to have hit commercial and fishing piers, as well as Keshem Island and areas near Bandar Abbas. The U.S. strikes targeted Iranian air defense systems, coastal surveillance systems, surface-to-air missiles, anti-ship cruise missiles, and drone launch sites. Iranian state media reported that several people were injured by shrapnel at the Sarik commercial pier.
Whoa. 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 Whoa.
And now, viewers, we shift focus to another major story that's developing. Now, doctors at the Shastri Nagar Hospital have gone on strike after a Shiv Sena corporator allegedly assaulted a doctor and staff members at the hospital. Several investigations. Now, a case has been registered in this case as well, and Shiv Sena leaders have also gone on to say against that, and several doctors have gone on strike in the hospital with regards to the incident that took place last evening. And the Federation of All India Medical Doctors have also launched a strong statement against this kind of mistreatment against healthcare workers, doctors and nurses. And this is the visual as the Shiv Sena Shinde faction corporator raised his hand against some of the doctors who were stationed there and some nurses as well. A major scuffle broke out and doctors have now gone on a strike after the Sena assault.
त्या ठिकाणी जी काही घटना झाली त्याबद्दल मी पहिला दिलगिरी व्यक्त करतो आणि मी ठासून सांगतो या ठिकाणी का मी महिला डॉक्टरवर हात उचललेला नाही. ही जी TV फुटेजमध्ये CC कॅमेरा फुटेजमध्ये जे येते तर कॅमेऱ्याचा अँगलमुळे येत असेल, ती महिला डॉक्टर माझ्या मुलीसारखी आहे म्हणून ती म्हणतो, एकेरी उल्लेख करतो. ती माझ्या मुलीसारखी आहे. तिचे मॅरेज झाले का नाही ते पण मला माहिती नाही. सतत कानाला बोलत होते, आमची रिक्वेस्ट ऐकत नव्हती आणि त्यामुळे मी तुझा फोन ठेव बाजूला, आमची कंप्लेंट आधी घे, काय तर आमची तक्रार घे, ऐकून घे, एवढंच मी तिला बोललो. आणि मी त्या महिलेला मारलेलं नाही. आम्हाला बाळासाहेबांची शिकवण आहे, त्यामुळे महिलांवर आम्ही हात उचलला नाही आणि याच्यापुढे उचलणार नाही. यांनी मला बोलावलं, मी फोन केला यांच्याच फोनवरती, त्यांना फोन द्या सांगितलं डॉक्टरांना. डॉक्टरांनी माझे फोन घेतले नाही आणि 2-2, 3-3, 4-4 वेळा प्रयत्न करून सुद्धा घेतला. ह्या सारख्या रडत होत्या. मला सिरियसनेस समजल्यामुळे मी तिथे गेलो आणि बाकीचे यांच्या तोंडून आहे का मी
मेरे बेटी लड़की का प्रेग्नेंट थी और हॉस्पिटल में एडमिट करने के लिए गई और उसका सोनोग्राफी किया और हॉस्पिटल में लेके गए तो उन लोग ने बोला है क्या इमरजेंसी है तो इधर हो नहीं सकता है, सायन में लेके जाओ. तो इमरजेंसी है तो हम लोग बोले इमरजेंसी है तो सायन में हम लोग कैसे लेके जाएंगे, उधर तो सब डूब गए. तो कैसे लेके, मेरी लड़की की जान जाएगी तो क्या करेंगे, 3-4 घंटा लगेगा, खड्डा खुड्डा है, मेरी लड़की ऐसे गुजर रही है तो भी हम लोग कैसे जाएंगे. आप रिक्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं हम मैडम, इधर ही करना है, मुझे इधर ही करना है. देखो कुछ भी करो, मेरे को लड़की का डिलीवरी इधर ही करो. हम लोग बहुत रिक्वेस्ट किया, वो मैडम को भी और डॉक्टर सर को भी बहुत रिक्वेस्ट किया तो भी कुछ भी नहीं, वो लोग मानने ही को तैयार नहीं. सायन में ही लेके जाओ, सायन में ही लेके जाओ. बोले सायन में हम लोग कैसे लेके जाएंगे, उनका प्रॉब्लम इतना चल रहा है, वो जान जाने के लिए मेरी लड़की का आ रहा है तो भी प्रॉब्लम आपको क्रिटिकल बोल रहे हैं. मैं दादा को फोन किया, दादा ऐसा ऐसा बोल रहे हैं, सायन में कैसे लेके जाओ मेरे बच्ची को. तो दादा ने बोले तुम लोग क्या करें, मेरे को बताओ, ऑक्सीजन लेवल नहीं तो मुझे बताओ. कौन रमेश मात्रे, जानते नहीं, ऐसे बोलने लगे दादा को हम लोग डॉक्टर लोग. फोन ही लिए नहीं रहते, इसीलिए दादा हॉस्पिटल में आए. दादा इतना हम लोग की हेल्प करते हैं ना, कुछ भी नहीं, रात देखते नहीं, 2 बजे नहीं देखेंगे, 1 बजे नहीं आ जाएंगे, दौड़ के आ जाते हैं, लेकिन कभी ना नहीं बोलते. इसीलिए मैंने कॉल किया दादा को.
Now, this gruesome incident that happened, now the BMC MART strongly condemned this attack and assault on doctors, nurses and healthcare personnel that took place at Kalyan Dombivli Municipal Corporation's Shastri Nagar Hospital. They have said that violence against healthcare professionals is unacceptable under any circumstances. Doctors, nurses and all healthcare workers dedicate their lives to serving patients and deserve to work in a safe and secure environment. BMC MERT stands in complete solidarity with all doctors, nurses and all healthcare workers at the KDMC Shastri Nagar Hospital. They further urge the authorities to ensure a swift and fair investigation, strict legal action against those responsible and stronger security measures across all healthcare institutions to prevent such incidents from recurring in the future. And with that, viewers, we come to the end of this bulletin, but we'll continue to track more stories on the other side. As now, US President Donald Trump has made a huge statement. He says that Iran's ceasefire is over and calls Iranians liars and scum. Coming up, all of this after a very short break.
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे.
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं.
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा. रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना.
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं. रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ.
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट. ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े.
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े.
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट.
By the way, viewers, I'm driving in Delhi with Delhi wala boy Aman Gupta, who is too busy waving to his fans than talking to me. Please come down to earth, Aman.
Yes, I am sorry.
You're on my show.
I forgot.
This is not your show. This is my show. Stop waving to your fans. Be modest. Now everybody
बाद में
look.
बात करेंगे.
अरे आप politician हो. आप politician हो. आप ये क्या कर रहे हो? This is too much.
आपने बोला हम्बल हो, मैं हम्बल हो रहा हूँ.
You became very famous during Balika Badhu. At that time, there was a huge amount of fame and focus. Right?
There was.
People must be writing about you. The paparazzi would have written about
There were
you.
no paparazzis at that time.
You're not that old. Don't
No, I mean it. There were no paparazzi.
You were no paparazzi at that time.
There were no paparazzis.
This has happened now?
This is
There was no Viral Bayani then?
back then. It was just
What do you mean back then? If you keep talking, I'm over a decade older to you. If you keep saying back then I'll stop driving the car here.
No, I'm sorry. I don't mean.
What am I then? Back then. Shame on Meta. Shame on Mark Zuckerberg. I'm talking about what Meta is doing to our children. I'm talking about sexual abuse, pedophilia, and child pornography being encouraged by Mark Zuckerberg. Algorithmically, they are directing users to channels where sexual abuse material is being sold. This is not content moderation failure. This is commercialization of child sexual abuse. When we follow it up, we are told we cannot remove this content because according to Facebook, this does not go against their community standards. I say to Meta, you're being told to fall in line. You must not just atone, you must pay. You must explain why you allowed this child sexual abuse to continue. You must answer, you must not run. You're answerable to the people of India, and the people are asking you, if you want to continue to do this, don't seek a justification for it, for the people of India will not allow you to get away with child sexual abuse.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ 8 मिनट में तैयार क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट अब बताओ स्वाद आया
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk tonight about an incident where an FIR got registered against 4 people. This is an incident which has happened in Madhya Pradesh, in Ujjain, and there is this strange video which shows a van suspended about 40 feet in the air. And it's suspended with a crane, some kind of a huge big crane. And there are explosives which are put inside this van. And then the van is detonated. Watch this very carefully, ladies and gentlemen. This is apparently during a Muharram procession, where the organizers fill a car with explosives, lift it 40 feet in the air with explosives, put a slogan on the vehicle saying, Le fir aage, which means, look, we are back. And then they explode the van. And at that point of time, there are posters put, there's a lot of mayhem. It's also seen in the video that there are 2 people who are waving red flags before the blast. And the car is detonated mid-air amidst the spectators. There are videos from an Instagram account which also show a young man performing.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
A very, very good afternoon.
afternoon. We are live and we are breaking. I'm Shivangi Shukla getting you the latest coming in. A big update has come in from US President Trump. He says that the ceasefire with Iran is over. He has used some unparliamentary words when it comes to Iran. And he says, I really don't see any future when it comes to the ceasefire between America and Iran. This is a new development coming in. We'll get to all those details. But the headlines first. Let's get started.
Over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people.
Top headlines. Trump makes huge statement, says Iran ceasefire is over, calls Iranians liars and scum. Republic investigation forces Meta to issue detailed India-specific response on child sexual abuse content available on its platform despite repeated flagging. Meta goes all defensive, refuses to take ownership for removal of child sexual abuse content after Republic's big expose. Republic continues investigation in Meta child sexual abuse scandal after social media giant refuses to take down disturbing content. Pararipur rape and murder accused shot dead in police encounter during crime scene reconstruction. FIR registered and 3 arrested in doctor assault case. Shiv Sena Shinde leader Ramesh Matre still not arrested. US charges jail Indian gangster Lawrence Bishnoi and his aide Goldie Brar in murder case of Khalistani separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Getting you big updates coming in here on Republic TV as Trump states that the ceasefire with Iran is over. Israel's media reports that U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has now cancelled his visit to Israel, which was previously scheduled for later today. This is a huge update coming in. What exactly is happening when it comes to America-Iran? Well, things are looking very shaky now. President Trump declared Iran ceasefire amid fresh U.S. strikes on Iranian targets following attacks on commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Speaking forcefully, he called the Iranian leader scum, a bunch of liars, cuckoo, cheats, sick people who have killed their own people, adding he would not waste his time speaking to Iran now. Remarks come as Trump met with NATO allies in Turkey, where he expressed frustration over their support and ordered retaliatory action while pushing for greater allied loyalty. We're getting visuals coming in on your screen of from Iran of the grand funeral which is taking place as we speak of the previous supreme leader. And it was a send-off which took a couple of days. The funeral events are happening for Iran's former supreme leader Khomeini. Are they underway? As we speak, these visuals are coming in from Tehran. Khomeini's coffin is making its way to the streets of Najaf, to the shrine of Imam Ali, Prophet Muhammad's son-in-law. Thousands of mourners have gathered in Iraq. So this is Iraq, as funeral processions for Iran's slain Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khomeini has begun. And Iran has begun 6 days of public funeral ceremony for Khomeini, including the day dedicated to neighboring Iraq. The marathon ceremonies are taking place. A massive procession has been happening in Iran, and Iraqi officials and senior politicians received Khomeini's remains in the presence of Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian and the late leader's eldest son, Mustafa Khomeini.
إن الله تعالى أول ما يغفر للمؤمن أول شيء يعطي للمؤمن يغفر لمن حضر تشييعه. اللهم اغفر لنا يا الله وارحمنا. لا إله إلا الله. الكل صوت واحد. لا إله إلا الله. إخوان المشيعين منا شوية فتخطوتي اللي ورا رحم الله والديكم. خلي الجنازة توصل لهنا حتى تحصلون ثواب الصلاة إخواني. رحم الله والديكم.
Major General Rajan Kochar, AVCM, SM, VSM is joining us. Defense expert is joining us on Republic. Mr. Major General Kochar, those visuals are coming in from Iraq, and a send-off is being given to the slain Supreme Leader Khomeini. It's underway in Iraq. It's coming at a time when Trump spoke a short while back and he said that the ceasefire with Iran is over and thousands of mourners have reached. How do you think that the timing of the funeral is looking like in the context of other affairs in the Middle East?
Thank you, Shivangi. I think if we talk about the ceasefire and these kind of statements which Donald Trump is making, I would still consider it slightly premature for the burial of the ceasefire as of now. Because, these are statements. I would like to see what kind of follow-up action and strategy America has in place. Because so far, if you've been observing this war, it has dragged on for quite some time and more than 4 months now. And the real war was around 50 days. In those 50 days also, United States and Israel could not make a great impact on the attainment of their objectives. So what kind of strategy or re-strategizing Trump has made now to accomplish his objectives, which he could not accomplish earlier? Because you see, it's very easy to make statements, and seeing Donald Trump's track record, I'm not surprised at all that he's making these kind of statements, because he has made these kind of statements earlier also. So I would not like to take his statements on the face value. Secondly, these visuals are very important also to correlate with this kind of happening or an event taking place. It shows the solidarity among the Islamic world, and especially two large countries like Iran and Iraq. And it is a testimony that United States and Israel are now treading into very, very dangerous waters. And why I say that is because in times to come, this is going to lead into a fractured Islamic world, because we see here some of the Gulf countries are not pro-Iran, and some of the Gulf countries are with Iran. So I see a fracture in OIC, a fracture in GCC, and OPEC also. You would have seen UAE has moved out of OPEC. So all these things are happening in Gulf which have to be taken note of. And very important is, I think, the China factor cannot be overruled, because China today is sensing a great opportunity. And the statements which were coming from UAE and other countries that they would welcome more of Chinese support to bolster their military capabilities also should be taken note of. And I think it's still, Shivangi, it's still early days. I don't want to write off this ceasefire as of now, but definitely it's a great setback, and I think Iran also would need to look into it, because IRGC has adopted a very, very hard line. See, the way they are now saying that the sea lanes which they have earmarked in the Strait of Hormuz will only be followed, and no other lanes will be followed. Actually, that is against what has been mentioned in the MOU, because MOU does not mention control of the Strait of Hormuz with Iran, and therefore it is a violation of the MOU, and therefore United States has retaliated in this manner. And now I'm given to understand in the morning there has been a very vicious attack.
Before we continue with this, I also want our viewers to have a look at these visuals, because what is happening in Najaf, Iraq, thousands of mourners have turned up. But what message is Iran trying to send by turning this funeral into a religious event? It's also a religious event in a way, it's a regional event. It looks like the entire Middle East is coming together. I want to go across to Rakshita as well, who's joining us. Yes, Rakshita.
Right, this is the final farewell to Ali Khamenei and the supreme leader, the former supreme leader, and his procession, the funeral procession, his coffin is moving towards the spiritual heart of Shia Islam, the shrine of Imam Ali, who is the first Imam of the Shias, Prophet Muhammad's son-in-law and the cousin, and this is happening as far as the spiritual farewell is concerned, and this procession will return back to Iran tomorrow, where he will be laid to rest in Mashhad of Iran. And you can see that how thousands of the Shia Muslims, the community is paying homage to the Shia leader, who was Ali Khamenei, not just a political leadership, but of course it was a Shiite leadership. And the world, the entire Shia community today is marking this this last rite as shahidi and sacrifice of their leader, and the entire world, or the community, the Shia Muslim community, is in mourning, as we've seen many reactions that have been coming in from different Shia countries and Shia majority countries and Shia leaders as well. And you can see that thousands have gathered in Najaf of Iraq as the procession moves towards Imam Ali's shrine in Iraq, and they will return back to Iran. And tomorrow he will be laid to rest in Mashhad. You can see that this was a 5 to 7 day long farewell to Ali Khamenei. And this first we saw the world leaders also converging in Tehran for that, and now we see that the funeral events for Khamenei underway in Iran. Many of we've seen that there have been placards. It's not just spiritual. We've seen during the funeral procession there have been glimpses of what's happening as far as politically the situation in Iran exists, where there have been many slogans against the United States. Of course, he was killed in United States strike, he was killed in American strikes, and of course many placards were being held by those who had gathered. And also there were a lot of there was a section who were against Pezeshkia also, which of course shows how divided there are in terms of the politics of the country right now stands, which is we see the funeral also projecting national unity and unity of the entire community, the Shia community. But we've seen many hardline attacks on the president that is Masoud Pezeshkian, and even slogans chanted against Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. So there have been tensions in Iran in the aftermath of the war. And now when we get Donald Trump's statement declaring that the ceasefire is over, That, of course, revives more tensions. But yes, you can see this is the spiritual abode for the Shia Muslims in Iraq, where we see the funeral procession is moving towards the shrine of Imam Ali, and of course, a solemn moment for the Shia community right now as they turn out in thousands in Iraq before the procession heads back to Iran. Shivangi.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Rakshita, for getting us all those updates. Live pictures coming in of the coffin being taken to shrine of Imam Ali, the Prophet's son-in-law. We'll be coming back to the story, but I really want to move ahead. You know, in the meanwhile, you have seen a lot of escalation. U.S. has conducted strikes in southern Iran area. Iran has condemned those strikes. Iran's foreign ministry has now strongly condemned the aggressive attacks and gross violation of the memorandum of understanding by the U.S. following military strikes in southern Iran. So, as you know, a lot of updates are coming from the Middle East, and things are looking very, very shaky right now. U.S. has struck southern Iran. Tehran claims attacks on U.S. military sites as well. And once again, the situation looking very, very fragile when we talk about what is happening between America and Iran. I would like to go back to our guests in a short while from now as well, because the situation is looking extremely, extremely tense once more, especially after U.S. President Trump said that, well, the ceasefire is over. All right, let's go to Rakshita. Rakshita, now we see that Donald Trump has called the ceasefire waste of time. And you know, the question is that we thought that this is good news, the MOU sign was good news, but it's looking like it is not, because again, strikes have escalated.
Absolutely. Well, this ceasefire was fragile right from day one. There were a lot of questions being raised as far as the terms of this, this agreement was concerned, the 14-point agreement, the so-called peace deal. And there were already a lot of opposition that Donald Trump was facing, not just across the globe, but also back home in his own country. Even many Republicans had questioned this deal for different reasons over different points, of course. Now, he has been defending this ceasefire deal as a major, major success. Typical Trump style, trying to defend and saying that what he does is the best, but clearly that has come falling down. Now, what happened last night? There were impactful strikes in Iran. There were deadly strikes, in fact, in Iran. And henceforth, during this NATO summit, when he was interacting with the press, one of the reporters had asked him that, given the situation right now, if you are pounding Iran, then what can we say that the ceasefire is over? And that's how he responded, saying that I think it's over. They he went on to call them scum and sick, and saying that we hit them. Now, America says that that Iran is being hit because as a retaliatory move. Why? What retaliation? Now, this is being cited retaliation for what happened in the waters, in the seas. As per the US, these attacks were retaliation after Iran had allegedly targeted 3 commercial vessels that were transiting the Strait of Hormuz. That has been the flashpoint, and things are very sensitive still, even after the ceasefire. We've seen that reports of firing have been coming in. So, Marshall Islands flagged empty Al-Rakayat, Saudi Arabia flagged empty Wadian, and Liberian flagged empty Cyprus Prosperity have been allegedly hit by the Iranians. And United States says that we did this in retaliation, and as Trump calls them, a very, very dangerous people of Iran have been struck by the United States. And he went on to say, as we were just talking about the funeral that's happening, the funeral that is underway, saying that we wanted them to go do your funeral stuff. This is the kind of language
you're explaining to us, what is happening, but we are going back to square one. Once again, oil prices are jumping. Once again, we see the ceasefire. It looks like it's no more. And once again, we see Trump blaming Iran, saying that the terms of the MOU were misrepresented by the Iranian officials. So we are going back to square one once again.
Oh, yes. In fact, it was a fragile situation. And right after the ceasefire was announced, there was some relief, at least on paper, that was visible. And yes, there was some relief across the globe also as far as oil prices concerned. The movement of oil tankers, the supply, the world's oil supply was concerned, the energy supplies were concerned. But yes, it is going back to square one. Oil jumps, the oil prices are jumping across the globe as we speak, given the US strikes. In fact, there are now strikes in Bahrain and other Middle Eastern countries, also in West Asia that we are learning of right now. So yes, the situation is once again, reigniting, and Donald Trump has many questions to answer, or even Iran for that matter, because if commercial vessels are hit, that clearly shows that there has been no trust, and there has been no upkeeping of that trust as well. So now, in fact, as we speak, we're getting in breaking news, and let me just share this information with our viewers. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Gharibabadi has said that Iran will take decisive action against US violation of the Islamabad MOU. So that is the breaking news we have right now. Gharibabadi is the Deputy Foreign Minister of Iran, that is second to Araghchi, and now he says that Iran is going to fight back. So yes, we are going back to the same situation. At least that is what is being seen right now. Donald Trump had been thumping his chest, said that how he, in fact, got the ceasefire done, even though there were many questions about the terms of the agreement, and now
right,
it has
absolutely. Absolutely. Rakshita, let's also go to a guest. I will just go to a guest, and then you can also join in. Major General Rajan Kochur is joining us. Rakshita and Major General, back to square one. And the kind of words that Trump has used for Iran, they're scum, they're sick people, they're led by sick people, they're vicious, violent people. This is what Trump is saying. It's bad news for everybody because we're looking at higher oil prices and maybe even much more later, Major General, much more to come.
Shivangi, I agree with you because this will have impact on the entire economy, including gas and oil prices. But the point here is that Trump's statements, if you try to analyze his statements, I am not surprised because these kind of statements have been emanating from him earlier also. And at one point of time, he was hailing the peace accord and he was complimenting the people of Iran. And now, after a few days, he's now abusing them. So this is a standard trademark of Trump talk. And this is the way he talks. So let's take it in that manner and not give too much importance to what Trump is actually saying at this point of time, because things will have to be seen in the next 48 hours on ground. Because if there is an escalation, I would like to qualify my statement. If there is an escalation, definitely this ceasefire is over. But if there is no escalation in the next 48 hours, then there is a slim chance of this ceasefire falling back in place. And what is also important is that Iran has not been too happy the way US has responded to the unfreezing of its accounts, because it's quite some time in this 60 days of MOU, and there is a lack of trust. As Rachita also mentioned, there is hardly any trust between the two countries. So unless you restore a semblance of trust, only then this MOU can survive. With the absence of trust, I don't think this MOU can go ahead at all. Even after 60 days, we would have faced a similar kind of a situation. So I think this has to be from both sides. You see, trust cannot be one-sided. If Trump is saying that Iran has belied the trust, I think USA has also belied that trust. And they need to come up with concrete statements as
Absolutely, Major General. Major General, we will be discussing more on this. This is a huge update coming in. Entire world, of course, wanting to know, will these two patch up again, or can we expect more escalation? Well, thank you, Rakshita. And Major General, please stay with us because we'll be tracking the story very closely. Taking a short break, do not go anywhere. Viewers will be right back. Escalation continues between Iran and the United States. President Trump calls Iran scum and says the ceasefire is over. This is the biggest global story. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा,
मसाला।
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates. IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा से MTH का जलजीरा जीरा से
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MTH
Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday I said that Bhagwant Man's problem is that in the process of covering up one lie, he is lying a second time. So to cover 2 lies, he lies a third time and a fourth time, and now he's in a big trap. He is doing everything possible to save his job, but it's going to become more and more difficult for him. Plus, I think he has some very foolish advisors. You see, this controversy is about a younger Bhagwant Mann. He's about 52 years now, 52 or 53. And the video apparently goes back to the time he was 39 years old. This is a video he's released. Let me first show you the other video, the controversial video. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a picture of Bhagwant Mann at the age of 39. And visibly, over the last 13 years, he's aged. There's nothing wrong with that. We all age. But there's a distinct difference in facial appearance. I'd like to show you a picture of Bhagwant Mann at present, which is about 52, 53 years old. And Bhagwant Mann on the other side at the age of 39, when he was a performer. Well, he is still a performer in a way.
The much-awaited insurance reforms documents by the IRDAI is now expected by July end. And the public business has reliably learned that the regulator is considering doing away with upfront commissions to agents. It is likely that the commissions could be linked to products and the lifetime of the policy. Regulator is currently holding marathon meetings with industry reps and stakeholders on commissions, the role of intermediaries in selling insurance and other such reforms. I want to go across to my colleague Pranav from our Republic Business team. Pranav, take our viewers through the latest breaking news coming in.
Well, in fact, we have been tracking this particular document. It's a crucial document that is going to set in motion the reforms that are expected in the insurance sector, primarily the commissions that are being paid to intermediaries, that is the agents. Now, just to give you a gist of what is happening right now, this insurance reform document that was expected in the first week of July will now be actually released somewhere by end of this month. What are we likely to expect? We are expecting some sort of reforms in terms of the commissions that are paid to intermediaries as well as agents. We are given to understand that marathon meetings are currently underway at the IRDAI, where stakeholders are currently suggesting what are the kind of reforms that they expect. This document, once released, will actually be available for public consultation, and after that the implementation is likely to be, it is likely to be implemented by January 2027. So yes, much awaited reforms. We are expecting that among others, we are expecting that the IRDAI may do away with upfront commissions and could in fact introduce commissions that are linked to the policy life. In fact, just to give you a data about it, there was a Praxis report that was released just about a few months ago. The reform actually is quite on the lines of commissions, and the report actually mentioned, just to give you a perspective on what are the kind of reforms, the Praxis reports actually said that 70 to 80% of the premium paid in policy is actually backed by agents. Agents are in fact getting richer while policyholders continue to suffer. Just one of the data points from the Praxis report was that 83% of consumers are frustrated with insurance buying and are tied to actually the agents. We have with us we are actually joined by Mr. Vishal Bhave, practice leader, Insurance Praxis Global Alliance. Mr. Bhave, thank you very much for joining us on Republic TV. The first question that I want to ask you is, as we look forward to these particular reforms, the first question is that, is the industry really relying too much on intermediaries? Are they really the backbone, or they are in a way, bleeding the industry and taking away much of the larger pie of the premiums?
Okay, thanks, Pranav. Thanks for having me. Good afternoon to your viewers as well. So as we covered in the Praxis report, basically the challenge is that the profitability of the general insurers is under strain currently, right? So to answer your question about intermediary, traditionally insurance has always been an intermediary-driven business globally as well. In India, about 80-85% of the business comes through intermediaries. So when you talk of intermediaries, about your agent, not only agents, so it's agents, brokers, the banks. And for motor, it is the car dealers who sell insurance when you go and to buy a particular vehicle, right? So the positive about having intermediary structure is that it has enabled reach, last mile access and servicing, especially in tier 2, 3, 4 towns. But the consequent challenges are also emerging, right? So one is very clearly the high distribution cost, which is causing a strain on the bottom line of insurers. Secondly, it also leads to customer ownership issues, because in our report also it very clearly shows that the intermediary is owning the customer more than what the insurer is supposed to do, which also then results in customer retention challenges. In general insurance, very clearly, if you look at the bottom line of insurers today, that out of every 100 rupees of premium which they collect, they are paying out more via claims paid, distributor costs and other operating expenses. So it's clearly not sustainable. Similarly, in life insurance, the persistency that is fairly a challenge right now. So out of 100 rupees of new premium which comes in year 1, half of it runs out by the end of year 5. So these are some of the challenges which are emerging out of this model. Our report also basically touches upon alternative models, especially in general insurance, where globally profitable insurers have pivoted to a D2C sort of a model, along to augment the current structure as well, right? And which has yielded them results in terms of better customer experience and profitability as well.
Mr. Bhave, in fact, we've been talking to intermediaries as well as, consumers who have been affected by insurance premiums especially. And one of the feelings that is emerging is that the consumers are, there is a sort of feeling, sort of robbery, so to say, that consumers are expressing, that the high cost of premiums, and the second part is the commissions, 50 to 60% of it, in fact, in motor insurance sector. I want to ask you, in a sector which is actually mandatory insurance, such as motor insurance, why do commissions really need to be given or paid to the intermediaries? Why are intermediaries really required in a sector where insurance is mandatory?
Okay, so it's a very broad question, because insurance is typically of life and general. Within that, there's health, retail lines, commercial, so very broad spectrum. But let's focus on the product line which you mentioned, which is motor insurance, right? Just to educate our viewers, so there are two components to motor insurance. One is the third-party insurance, damage happening to a third party, and the second one is own damage to your own vehicle, right? The third-party component is mandatory by law. So when you go and purchase a vehicle, for 3 years, you have to take a third party, and for 2 wheelers is 5 years, whereas own damage you can change every year, and that's discretionary. So that's one important education which we need to create. Second thing is, you have to understand that in motor, unlike life and health, where technically everyone can be insured, in motor, the car park is finite, right? There are only so many vehicles on the road. The denominator is fixed. So there's heavy competition to gain market share, right? And so our survey also further shows that in motor has become, unfortunately, a very commoditized product, right? There's very low brand salience. 50% of the customers, in fact, don't even recall the name of the insurer. And 50%, half of them keep on churning or changing their insurer every year for own damage. So with this structure currently, the pricing becomes very important from a customer's perspective at the cost of value, right? And that's a very unfortunate part. While insurers are doing a lot of stuff, a lot of innovation, a lot of technology, a lot of product innovation, process simplification to change that, but the perceived value currently is the way it is. And that also creates, incentive for the distributor to, influence the customer in terms of the choice of insurer. And at the back end, the commissions to the intermediary also makes a difference, right? So overall, that's the challenge today. And what has also happened is, in this competition to grab market share, IRD had come up with expense of management guidelines in 2023, which gave greater flexibility to insurers to, make their own commission structures as long as the overall expenses are maintained. So that has led to a lot of commission pressure on the retail lines like motor.
Right. Mr. Bhavi, thank you very much for joining us. We will continue to be connected with you as we follow this very, very important story. Republic Business has in fact been talking to stakeholders and individuals who've been affected. As the IRDA in fact says that your insurance is your right. If you have any queries or suggestions that are related to insurance premiums, there is a number that has been displayed on the screen. You can drop us messages and reach out to us, and we will be tracking the story and insurance reforms with you on Republic TV.
Right, thank you so much, Pranav, for all of those details and the latest on that. Thank you so much. And now, viewers, we'll move on with the bulletin, but first, let's take a look at the headlines first. Trump makes huge statement, says Iran ceasefire is over, calls Iranians liars and scum. NATO General Secretary Mark Rutte says US strikes on Iran were absolutely necessary. Iranian Foreign Ministry response to US strikes on Iran, says the MOU has been grossly violated. Republic investigation forces Meta to issue detailed India-specific response on child sexual abuse content available on its platform despite repeated flagging. Meta goes all defensive, refuses to take ownership for removal of child sexual abuse content after Republic's big expose. Republic continues investigation in Meta child sexual abuse scandal after the social media giant refuses to take down disturbing content. Baruipur rape and murder accused shot dead in police encounter during crime scene reconstruction. FIR registered and 3 arrested in doctor assault case. Shiva Sena Shinde leader Ramesh Mahastre still not arrested. United States charges jailed Indian gangster Lawrence Bishnoi and his aide Goldie Brar in the murder case of Khalistani separatist Hardip Singh Nijjar. Viewers, we have a big breaking news at the moment. NATO General Secretary General Mark Rutte has said that the new fresh launch of attacks by the United States against Iran was absolutely necessary. Now, he says that when you have a ceasefire and Iran is basically violating the ceasefire, I think it is totally crucial that the US forcefully reacts. And this is the statement coming in on the heels of the NATO Summit that's being held in Ankara in Turkey. And Mark Rutte, he has said that the retaliation by the US against Iran is in fact absolutely necessary in his words. And he says that Iran has continued to violate the ceasefire. And this after Donald Trump has also announced that the ceasefire with Iran is now officially over, with war possibly resuming and even oil prices skyrocketing at about 6%, shooting up at around 6%.
Yes, sir.
What is your reaction on the recent US attacks on Iran, and why don't you fear that this will overshadow this summit?
Well, I think it was absolutely necessary. Because when you have a ceasefire and Iran is basically violating the ceasefire, we see what happened yesterday with ships being attacked, I think it is totally crucial that the US forcefully reacts. Yes, sir.
What is your reaction on the recent US attacks on Iran, and why don't you fear that this will overshadow this summit?
Well, I think it was absolutely necessary. Because when you have a ceasefire and Iran is basically violating the ceasefire, we see what happened yesterday with ships being attacked, I think it is totally crucial that the US forcefully reacts.
Viewers, that was a statement of Mark Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO. He is there in Ankara of the NATO summit that's being held in Ankara in Turkey. And now he says that the retaliation, the fresh launch of attacks by the United States is absolutely necessary, saying that the ceasefire has been violated by Iran incessantly. And we are also joined by Rajan Kochar, who has joined us on this broadcast. And thank you so much, Major General, for joining us on this broadcast. I'd like your comments on this latest escalation that's been developing across the region. Now, General Secretary of NATO, he has said that the retaliation by the US is absolutely necessary. They are also alleging that Iran has continued to violate the ceasefire over the many years, and that in the latest escalation that we are seeing, Bandar Abbas has also been targeted by the United States. What is your take on this, as United States President has now announced that the ceasefire is over?
Thank you very much for inviting me for this discussion. I think things are very serious now because, and I would like to maintain the next 48 hours are going to be very challenging. In case there is an escalation, then that will be the burial of the ceasefire. I don't think this MOU is going to last in case the situation does not stabilize in the next 48 hours. So I think this 48 hours are going to be crucial. And one important aspect which is emerging now is that Donald Trump has been able to get the NATO support, because you see earlier there were officials in NATO, and short of joining the war, in this NATO meet at Turkey, what has emerged is also very significant, because here there have been statements in solidarity with President Trump. NATO has made a statement that they are with the president as far as the Iran war is concerned. They have justified the action of the US as far as the blocking or the closure of the Strait of Hormuz is concerned. They have also ratified their support for Ukraine. So all these aspects is strengthening Donald Trump now, because Ukraine and the Iran war has to be linked with each other because of Russian support to Iran. So from that point of view, the Ukraine angle is also very important. So I think things are very, very fragile as of now. Chances are 10% to 90%, I would say, as of now, because the way statements are coming, because there is no mediator here. There is no powerful entity here who can broker a kind of a sensible intervention as far as these statements are concerned, because the IRGC is also very, very hardline as far as their statements are concerned. And what has been very, very evident in the signing of the MOU has been the lack of trust, because we have seen there is absolutely no trust between US and the Iranians, and especially when Iran was expecting a certain amount of defreezing of its account, and especially the $6 billion which are held with Qatar. That has not happened. And a second important factor has been the reimposition of the sanctions of oil, because US had taken off those sanctions as far as the exports and the imports of oil was concerned. I think those sanctions have been reimposed now. So that is also a very strong factor which will dictate Iran's response. Because as I can make out, Iran's response is also going to be a very hardline one, and especially when the visuals, as we are seeing, when these funeral procession has actually got the entire country together, and it is not only Iran which has got together, the Shia countries like Azerbaijan, Iraq, Bahrain, because these are Shia-dominated countries. They have got together with Iran. So this kind of solidarity which Iran is actually getting is giving it more strength to fight Donald Trump.
Right, Major General, I request you to continue to stay with us, because we are going to take another breaking news that's coming, and it's regarding oil prices. Now, oil prices has now jumped 6% as Donald Trump says that ceasefire with Iran is officially over. Now, Now, viewers, oil prices surged and stocks even fell after U.S. President Donald Trump has said that the memorandum of understanding between Iran and U.S. that underpinned the ceasefire with Iran was over, in his words, and this follows an overnight of exchange of attacks between the two sides. Now, Donald Trump also made the remarks while speaking at a NATO summit in Ankara, and now in the latest, the oil prices stands with Brent crude as it rose at 6% to $78 per barrel, while European stocks fell 1.6% on the day. The dollar also strengthened and the government bond yields climbed as investors weighed the risk of a renewed flare-up in inflation. Now, coming back to you, Major General, I would like your reaction as well. The major consequences of the West Asian war was the price of the oil and how the Strait of Hormuz was choked, restricting supply of global oil everywhere. And now with this latest remarks from the U.S. President and Iran also responding back to that, the violation of ceasefire and also ceasefire officially ending, and with the prices of Brent crude surging, how could that look like in the coming weeks and months if now we are to take that the war is officially resuming back?
Very good question. You see, because 6% escalation has already taken place, as I see now, and if there's no going back onto the ceasefire, these prices of oil are going to cross $100 a barrel, and even more than that. And what is more significant is the implications on India, because you see, there was a certain kind of stabilization as far as India was concerned, and especially the fertilizers. You know, it is in the month of August our agricultural season starts, and we were expecting, it was very timely for the Strait of Hormuz to open for India, and this fertilizers were expected very soon. So now this will be a great setback to the farmers. It is going to push up the inflation in India. The prices of oil again are likely to boomerang again. And again, as I said, the petroleum products will also be impacted. And not only that, there are connected minerals also, of which we were actually getting in the industry also. For example, I would say that, plastic industry was badly affected. So I think if you look at the overall perspective in the coming months, this will be a great setback, because much was expected this war will be over and things will stabilize, but I don't see it happening now, and we need to gear up ourselves as far as our own country is concerned, and we need to psychologically also tune ourselves for a price rise in all major commodities, including oil and gas.
Right, Major General, do continue to stay with us. We are taking another breaking update that's coming in now. NATO General Secretary Mark Rutte has said again that 5,000 aircraft have flown from Europe to support military operations against Iran. Now this, as US has just geared up at the fresh launch of attacks and now saying that 5,000 jets has been deployed. Now, Major General, this is a very alarming sign that's coming in from US. And also just recently we have gotten, we got reports that Pete Hegseth, the War Secretary of War of the U.S., Pete Hegseth, has cancelled his trip to the Israel, and after this announcement was made.
When it comes to Iran, I know you're disappointed. We discussed it a couple of weeks ago. I would say these are isolated cases. 5,000 planes taking off from European airports in support of Epic Fury. It was Europe as one big platform of power projection for the United States, helping with Epic Fury, including countries you mentioned, Germany from day one, France, and many others. We discussed the Bucharest airport, which was closed for a couple of days for commercial traffic because you needed it for Epic Fury, and they were totally
United
fine.
Kingdom wouldn't let us use the island for 2 weeks, so we had to fly back.
No, so I'm saying you're right. There are isolated
and
cases.
Italy was very bad, having to do with their bases, as you know, and a couple of others. So
but still, generally, 5,000 is huge. And you mentioned Spain. Even you got Spain to pay 2%. They made a huge step in last year. So there's still issues we have to solve. But hey, also even on Spain, I would say they go to the 2%. And when it comes to Iran, I know you're disappointed. We discussed it a couple of weeks ago. I would say these are isolated cases. 5,000 planes taking off from European airports in support of Epic Fury. It was Europe as one big platform of power projection for the United States, helping with Epic Fury, including countries you mentioned, Germany from day one, France, and many others. We discussed the Bucharest airport, which was closed for a couple of days for commercial traffic because you needed it for Epic Fury. And they were
the United
fine.
Kingdom wouldn't let us use the island for 2 weeks, so we had to fly back.
No, so I'm saying you're right, there are isolated
And
cases.
Italy was very bad, having to do with their bases, as you know, and a couple of others. So it went.
But still, generally, 5,000 is huge. And you mentioned Spain. Even you got Spain to pay 2%. They made a huge step in last year. So there's still issues we have to solve. But hey, also even Spain, I would say they got to the 2%. And when it comes to Iran.
All right, we are going to take another question with Major General on this. You may have heard Mark Rutte once again saying that, Major General, he said that 5,000 US jets has been deployed to support, once again he said that to support Operation Fury, saying that this is back on track. And Major General, I'd like to comment on that because this is in fact alarming. Just moments ago, Pete Hegseth has cancelled his scheduled visit to Israel and has gone back to United States. And now with this latest announcement by Mark Rutte against the backdrop of the NATO Summit and this announcement by the US President, 5,000 jets have been deployed to support Operation Fury. Once again, your comments on this, sir.
See, I think this is a very, very significant development because earlier NATO was not part of this war. And even till yesterday, NATO expressed solidarity with President Trump but did not indicate that they will join the war. But today, as we are seeing on your screen, 5,000 NATO aircrafts are going to be lined up to participate in this war. So now a major escalation is taking place now. So it seems now that it is, it is going to go to the culmination point, and US and the allies are not going to halt now. And this will be a major offensive and a major destruction of Iran. It will also not be limited to military targets now, because in case you want to put a country into submission, it will be something like what has happened in Gaza. So what we will see now is a mass destruction of the civilian infrastructure, energy infrastructure, as well as the military infrastructure, all in totality. So I think it's a very bad news as far as the world global economy is concerned, because this is going to push the war into a new dimension, which I was visualizing the worst case scenario.
That's right. Major General, continue to stay with us. We also are joined by my colleague Ishita from the newsroom, who has more details into this. Ishita, I'd like to know more from you on this latest announcement from Mark Rutte. He says 5,000 jets, US jets, have been deployed to support Operation Fury. This statement he made on the NATO summit that's being held in Turkey. Give us more on that, Ishita, on the latest
right, of course, Amrita, we're looking at a very big statement coming in from NATO chief. Mark has now said that about 5,000 aircrafts will be flown in from Europe to support US operations against Iran. Now, what we're witnessing right now is a change of heart as far as the NATO allies are concerned, because you and I have been reporting on Iran war before as well, and we saw earlier NATO took a very defiant stand. They were very clear that this is not our war, this is a Donald Trump's war, and it is a US war against Iran. But this time what we're looking at is a NATO chief weighing in, saying that the strikes conducted by US on Iran's southern coastal cities were very necessary. He's trying to give a justification of the latest attacks carried out by the US against Iranian targets, and also saying that this time NATO will be coming in for more support. And this is why these escalations, in fact, are bigger at this time. And as Major General Rajan Kochar also mentioned, that next 48 hours will be very crucial to see where this war escalates, because already Donald Trump has declared that the MOU that was signed between Iran and the US as of this moment now stands cancelled.
That's right. Thank you so much, Ishta, for all of those details. And we are going to take another breaking news that's coming in. Now, U.S. airstrikes again have hit at the Shahid Haqqani port. Now, viewers, this as the war in the region continues to escalate. There may be a resumption of this war. Now, NATO General Secretary Mark Rutte has said that U.S. strikes on Iran were absolutely necessary as well. And now, viewers, so we're continuing to tracking these stories and more on the latest escalation. Now, coming up after a very short break, NATO General Secretary Mark Rutte has said that U.S. strikes on Iran were absolutely necessary. Coming up after a very short break.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला डिलीशियस हेल्दी एवरी डे
By the way, viewers, I'm driving in Delhi with Delhi wala boy Aman Gupta, who is too busy waving to his fans than talking to me. Please come down to earth, Aman.
Yes, I am sorry.
You're on my show.
I forgot.
This is not your show. This is my show. Stop waving to your fans. Be modest. Now everybody look. अरे आप politician हो. आप politician हो. आप ये क्या कर रहे हो? This is too much. आपने बोला humble हो, मैं humble हो रहा हूँ.
US coming up after a very short break. NATO General Secretary Mark Rutte says US strikes on Iran were absolutely necessary, even as it gets heated up between US and Iran once again. Coming up next.
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा से MTH का जल जीरा जीरा से
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग असली स्वाद असली मजा
AU करंट अकाउंट के साथ मिलता है फ्री UPI QR ओवरड्राफ्ट फैसिलिटी और एक ही ऐप से बैंक के सारे काम। AU
सोच बदलो और बैंक भी।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ 8 मिनट में तैयार क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला
यानी इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है? आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk tonight about an incident where an FIR got registered against 4 people. This is an incident which has happened in Madhya Pradesh, in Ujjain, and there is this strange video which shows a van suspended about 40 feet in the air. And it's suspended with a crane, some kind of a huge big crane. And there are explosives which are put inside this van, and then the van is detonated. Watch this very carefully, ladies and gentlemen. This is apparently during a Muharram procession, where the organizers fill a car with explosives, lift it 40 feet in the air with explosives, put a slogan on the vehicle saying, "Le fir aage," which means, "Look, we are back." And then they explode the van.
NATO General Secretary Mark Rutte says US strikes on Iran were absolutely necessary. Stay tuned.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मम्मा क्या स्वाद है अरे मेरे राजा
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट अब बताओ स्वाद आया
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट.
Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday I said that Bhagwan Man's problem is that in the process of covering up one lie, he is lying a second time. So to cover two lies, he lies a third time and a fourth time. And now he's in a big trap. He is doing everything possible to save his job. But it's going to become more and more difficult for him. Plus, I think he has some very foolish advisors. You see, this controversy is about a younger Bhagwant Mann. He's about 52 years now, 52 or 53. And the video apparently goes back to the time he was 39 years old. This is a video he's released. Let me first show you the other video, the controversial video. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a picture of Bhagwant Mann at the age of 39. And visibly, over the last 13 years, he's aged. There's nothing wrong with that. We all age. But there's a distinct difference in facial appearance. I'd like to show you a picture of Bhagwant Mann at present, which is about 52, 53 years old. And Bhagwant Mann on the other side at the age of 39, when he was a performer. Well, he is still a performer in a way. But there's a distinct physical difference.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hello viewers, a very good afternoon. In fact, it's evening now and we are getting our viewers all the top updates coming in here on Republic TV. Now, Donald Trump has called Iran scum, sick people before saying that the ceasefire is over. Well, this is a huge escalation coming in as US strikes were reported in Iran recently as well. Oil prices jumping a lot. We have to decode, but the headlines first. Let's get started.
I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people.
War again in West Asia. Trump says ceasefire is over with Iran, calls Iranian liars and scum.
Reaction on the recent US attacks on Iran, and why don't you fear that this will overshadow this summit?
Well, I think it was absolutely necessary.
NATO General Secretary Mark Rutte says US strikes on Iran were absolutely necessary. Iranian Foreign Ministry response to US strikes on Iran says the MOU has been grossly violated. Republic investigation forces Meta to issue detailed India-specific response on child sexual abuse content available on its platform despite repeated flagging. Meta goes all defensive, refuses to take ownership for removal of child sexual abuse content after Republic's big expose. Republic continues investigation in Meta child sexual abuse scandal after the social media giant refuses to take down disturbing content. Viewers, it looks like things are getting out of control once again when it comes to Middle East and West Asia. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says a new attack by the US and Iran was absolutely necessary. When you have a ceasefire and Iran is basically violating the ceasefire, I think it is totally crucial that the US forcefully reacts. This is very important. Why is it important, viewers? Because once again, we see that both Iran and America, who by the way tried to come up with a peace deal and they were very excited about it, so was the world. It looks like things have gone backward to square one. And the latest update we're getting for you is that a NATO General Secretary is at 5,000 aircraft to support the United States. US-Iran truce remains uncertain. President Trump says he believes the MOU with Tehran is over, but that negotiators can keep talking if they want after the US and Iran exchange strikes across the Middle East. Big doubts on what is happening when we talk about the ongoing talks, and oil prices are jumping after Trump's comments made at the NATO Summit in Turkey. NATO nations will be supporting US. That's also very concerning in terms of escalation. I really want to go ahead and play out some reactions.
And when it comes to Iran, I know you're disappointed. We discussed it a couple of weeks ago. I would say these are isolated cases. 5,000 planes taking off from European airports in support of Epic Fury. It was Europe as one big platform of power projection for the United States, helping with Epic Fury, including countries you mentioned, Germany from day one, France, and many others. We discussed the Bucharest airport, which was closed for a couple of days for commercial traffic because you needed it for Epic Fury. And they were
the United Kingdom wouldn't let us use the island for 2 weeks, so we had to fly back.
No, so I'm saying you're right, there are isolated
and
cases.
Italy was very bad, having to do with their bases, as you know, and a couple of others. So
but still, generally, 5,000 is huge. And you mentioned Spain. Even you got Spain to pay 2%. They made a huge step in last year. So there's still issues we have to solve. But hey, also even on Spain, I would say they got to the 2%. And when it comes to Iran, I know you're disappointed. We discussed it a couple of weeks ago. I would say these are isolated cases. 5,000 planes taking off from European airports in support of Epic Fury. It was Europe as one big platform of power projection for the United States, helping with Epic Fury, including countries you mentioned, Germany from day one, France, and many others. We discussed the Bucharest airport, which was closed for a couple of days for commercial traffic because you needed it for Epic Fury. And they were
the United Kingdom wouldn't let us use the island for 2 weeks, so we had to fly back.
No, so I'm saying you're right, there are isolated cases.
And Italy was very bad, having to do with their bases, as you know, and a couple of others. So
but still, generally, 5,000 is huge. And you mentioned Spain. Even you got Spain to pay 2%. They made a huge step in last year. So there's still issues we have to solve. But hey, also even on Spain, I would say they got to the 2%.
Getting some more breaking news coming in. EU is telling airlines not to fly over Iraq and Iran airspaces, viewers. So now, of course, this means that things are getting a little bit dangerous. That means more strikes could be happening. So European Union Aviation Safety Agency has told airlines that they should not, I repeat, they should not even try to operate within the airspace of Iran and Iraq. And they've given a deadline, August 31st, till August 31st, at least they should avoid, as US attacks on Iran are ongoing. The agency's previous warning, which expires on July 8th, including Lebanon. It had also asked airlines to exercise caution in the airspace of Bahrain, Kuwait, Israel, Jordan, Qatar, Oman, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia. So big updates coming in here on Republic TV. And Iran is also firing on commercial vessels in Oman's territorial waters. So US strikes were reported in Iran. Iran is firing on commercial vessels. EU Aviation Agency telling airlines they should not fly over Iran or Iraq because situation is looking very, very tense there. Tehran has said that ships must gain permission to traverse the strait along routes approved by its officials and warned against using a route closer to Omani coast. So Tehran also giving a bit of notice on this front. Both sides being extremely careful. All right, let's go across to our guests who are joining us. Mr. Terry Newman, Chairman, Public Directors of BINA Tel Aviv, and Group Captain R.S. Mehta, West Asia Expert, live from New Delhi. Joining us right now on Republic. I just want to go across to Mr. Newman first, and then I'll go across to Group Captain R.S. Mehta. Mr. Newman, remember that when the MOU between Iran and US was signed, Israel wasn't too happy about that. You know, they thought that they are being left out. In fact, I think we had spoken to you earlier on this, and they were not confident at all about the MOU, and that's exactly what is happening, Mr. Newman.
Yeah, I think it's wrong to call it an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding. It's an MOM, a Memorandum of Misunderstanding. This document was a framework through which to work through the various open issues. It didn't solve the open issues. And what we're seeing now is what was always warned about, that the Iranians will blatantly breach all of their commitments. Now, one of the main reasons, in fact, probably the main reason why the Americans agreed to this MOM was to get ships out of the Strait of Hormuz. Let's understand that there you have ships that are not only supplying much of Asia's oil and hydrocarbons. I know India has been massively affected by this, but also huge amounts of fertilizer, which is essential for growing food. And there's a great concern that much of the harvests for the coming year will be affected. And Iran doesn't seem to care about this, but the Americans are trying to get that freed. Unfortunately, despite the efforts to do this ceasefire and get many ships out, which have worked so far, the Iranians have collapsed it. And I think President Trump has kind of said, enough is enough.
Absolutely. Group Captain, I want to come across to you. I also want to ask you, Group Captain, we were all very excited here. In fact, the entire world was breathing a sigh of relief. Okay, oil prices will come down now. Maybe, there was sort of energy crisis because of this situation. And now things are looking very, very concerning once again.
Yep. You're asking me any question?
Yes. Group Captain R.S. Mehta, now how do you see things moving forward? Because there was hope earlier that the things will simmer down, but it looks like it's boiling over.
Okay. Let me start by saying that when this MOU was signed, very few people believed that it is going to see the light of the day and it can sustain itself. I'll tell you why. Because this MOU was not signed in a normal circumstances. This MOU was signed under duress. And let me put a few facts straight. Iran was militarily defeated comprehensively, I would say, substantially. Its war-waging abilities have been degraded to an extent that, no normal nation will even think of continuing the war. But we should also understand that Iran is not a normal country. It is a revolutionary, it calls itself Islamic revolutionary country. And they have a mentality that they will never give up. Even the last person, they will never give up. So forget about thinking in terms of defeating Iran. Iran, even in defeat, will continue fighting. So that is the situation we are here. Now, what has happened? What was the duress? Duress was that America, rather Trump, is working under the pressure of the coming midterm elections. Now, he has gone to the war for a certain purpose. Obviously, I don't have to explain that purpose has not been fully met. But now that election is round the corner, he wants to make the best out of it. And to do that, he wants
Group Captain,
oil prices to be down.
You can go ahead and yes, you can tell the purpose.
To be open.
Group Captain, what was the purpose? You said that you don't want to mention it, but you can go ahead and mention it. What was the purpose which was not fulfilled? So our viewers get a better idea.
Yeah, of course. Modern armies and a nation goes to war with very specific war objectives and political purpose. Now, obviously, there was a problem. Problem was that Iran had developed into a country, a power that was destabilizing not only Middle East, but the entire world. Its policies are such that it wants destruction of Israel, it wants destruction of America, it wants to dominate the Middle East. And then it had was at the brink of acquiring the nuclear weapon. And it had amassed a huge arsenal of missiles, which was threatening all the local Arab leaders. Now, this has to be tackled.
Group Captain and Mr. Newman, I'll come back to both, I guess. I really want to go ahead and take our viewers to the big breaking news coming in, because we're talking about US airstrikes at a port in Iran. This is the Haqqani port, and fresh visuals coming in from overnight strikes conducted at Iranian cities, areas of the one from especially the Shahid Haqqani. US military completes a new round of attacks, striking 80 targets in Iran, including air defenses, radar sites, missile systems. Central Command releasing these videos and pictures. Okay, let's put them out for you on your screen. You can see that a couple of ports are being hit. Global markets are crashing. Especially US has struck the southern Iranian region. A lot is happening right now. And of course, whenever this happens, a lot of questions are being raised, because Iran has fired on 3 commercial vessels in Oman's territorial waters near the Strait of Hormuz. So it's happening from both sides, not just happening from US's side, it's happening from Iran's side as well. I want to go across to our guest, Mr. Newman, coming across to you right now. Mr. Newman, do you remember when President Trump told Netanyahu that he has to get himself under control when it comes to striking Lebanon and Hezbollah? But it looks like President Trump himself is struggling to keep the peace deal running between Iran and the US.
There is no peace deal between Iran and the US. There is an MOM, a Memorandum of Misunderstanding, which was brokered by the Pakistanis, which in effect allowed both sides to claim completely different victories. I'll just give you one example which links to the Lebanon issue. In the MOM signed between Iran and the USA, it called for Hezbollah to be allowed to stay inside of Lebanon, and for Iran to in effect keep on controlling Lebanon. Whereas in the agreement that was signed 2 weeks ago under Marco Rubio between the Lebanese government and the Israeli government, it specifically called for Iranian-influenced Hezbollah to leave Lebanon. So, this is not the case. I don't think this ceasefire will hold. And notwithstanding what my colleague here has said, I still believe that in the long term, a world will not be able to live with a nuclear Iran run by this regime. And because nuclear technology is it's about 90 years old, at the end, everybody who really wants to achieve it will be able to achieve it, which means that regime change is absolutely essential. We have to make sure that the regime is changed there before they get their hands on nuclear weapons.
Absolutely. Mr. Newman, I want you to hold on. Also, I'm asking Group Captain Mehta to also hold on. We're getting some more breaking news coming in. I'll come to you, Group Captain, so you can help us understand what is happening. The ground input coming from Iran, strike more intense. Ground report from Iran, strike 5 times bigger than before. Iran ground input says expect bigger response. Post-funeral, Iran likely to launch bigger offensive after the Khomeini funeral. And there's so much to unpack here. I want to go back to Group Captain Mehta on this. Firstly, we see that the Khomeini funeral is happening in Iraq. So there's always this danger of the Middle East coming together. Secondly, do you think the sanctions are going to come back? Do you think diplomacy is dead? Well, at least for now. Yes, Group Captain Mehta.
You see, what we are going through is an ongoing process. It is not a beginning and end. So this war is not yet over. Many people thought that the war is over. No, war has got certain objective. There is a problem that has to be dealt with. And unless that problem is dealt with, this war is not going to stop. It can have pauses. And that is what had happened. And you were telling that sanction will be back. Yes, sanction is already back. They have revoked the sale of oil. They will not allow now. America has said so. But this is a coercive diplomacy that is going on. You hammer your opponent and then try to extract concession. Iran is also doing it. It's not only America who is doing. Iran is also firing missiles. Firing at these vessels, defenseless vessels, only to put pressure on America to agree for certain things. So let us not ever think that this thing has concluded. This is an ongoing process. Many ups and downs are still in the coming on the way. Yeah, I was telling this was signed under duress because Mr. Trump wanted the prices to be oil prices to be down, and he wanted Hormuz to be open at any cost. And that cost was a little horrible to look very unusual for many, and my Israeli colleagues definitely they were very much constrained by what all was going on, which means America put its prestige at stake. America accepted, the team negotiating with Iran had accepted such horrible terms, which was unimaginable. So much so that it was almost, world was started calling that America has capitulated and accepted defeat. Now, why did Trump had all the cards in his hand? Militarily, America can still do a lot. But why Trump was doing was because he was under duress. Now, there is a limit. Iran is misreading Trump's resolve and America's military might. And of course, America and its allies resolve to solve the problem. And therefore, it wants to extract maximum concession out of this team. And when it crosses the line, that red line, I mean, there is a limit to the tolerance.
Group Captain, I really want you to hold on for a second there. We understand, and our guests are decoding everything for us. I'm getting some more breaking news coming in for our viewers. Iran's statement on America's overnight strikes. Iran claims it targeted 85 U.S. military sites in Bahrain, Kuwait. Iran says ready for decisive action against U.S. violation. Huge updates coming in here. Let's go across to my colleague Ishita joining us from our Republic newsroom. Okay, Ishita, Iran claims it targeted 85 U.S. military sites. Escalation. This is huge. 85 sites. Ishita, over to you.
Like we're back to square one right after U.S. conducted strikes against coastal Iran. In southern Iran, over 80 sites were struck. We're now looking at Iran also hitting back against U.S. targets across Kuwait and Bahrain. Now, about 85 strikes have been struck across these Western nations, and these are the ballistic missiles being launched by Iran. These are drone attacks being conducted by IRGC against the U.S. assets spread across West Asia. So this is what we had witnessed over the 3-month war before as well. And now, right after U.S. conducted strikes against the coastal cities of Iran, Iran is also hitting back. In fact, Iran has said that this is just the beginning, a trailer of what is yet to come. Now, tomorrow we understand that the late Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei will be laid to rest in his hometown of Mashhad. So we understand that a bigger escalation could come in right after that happens. Iran, in fact, could now respond more decisively to the U.S. strikes after Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is laid to rest. So what we're looking at is a bigger escalations that are now being witnessed in West Asia.
Absolutely,
Shivangi, at the moment.
Ishita, I want to take some breaking news and I'll come back to our guests on this. Iran claims major violation of MOU by America. Iran claims U.S. violating adjustments in Strait of Hormuz. The era of bullying and extortion is over. Iran is saying the era of bullying is over. I want to go and take some quick reactions from our guest, Mr. Newman. Iranian President Pezeshkian says that U.S. government's conduct as World Cup host follows its familiar foreign policy. Bending rules, bullying rivals, creating obstacles. This is what that they are saying. Iran is saying that the time of American bullying is over. But is it? Because we know that President Trump keeps making these threats again and again.
So I would remind the Iranian president that the Iranian Revolution, which happened in 1979, has turned one of the most economically successful, academically successful, forward-looking Middle Eastern countries into a backward country with horrendous human rights, with the hangings in the streets, with populations that are rising up against it, such that they have to kill tens of thousands of them to try and keep order. With all the criticism that he may have regarding Donald Trump and his behavior at the World Cup, I think America is a far bigger success story. The US, the stock market, US military power, it's just stupid. These are comments of someone who is creating problems on purpose. I'm actually amazed this memorandum of misunderstanding was so good for the Iranians.
Absolutely, Mr. Newman.
I'm amazed that they're doing their best in order to break it.
We're running out of time. I'll just take one final comment from Group Captain Mehta. Any last comments, Group Captain, before we wrap this show? Yes, Group Captain.
Yeah. See, this the trajectory that this war is taking will now hinge on Iran's ability to fire the missile and cause damage to the US and its allies. Now, what we have seen, Iran has capacity to still fire, but how much damage it can cause is yet to be seen. Out of 10 or 20 missiles that it is firing, hardly 1 or 2 is hitting its target. So that's not a very good score. So if that continues, then you take it for me that not much can be Iran will be able to do. Whereas the US and its allies have total air superiority over Iran. And this is a very bad situation for any country. So they can hit any target at any time with impunity, and Iran just can't stop it. You have seen 80 targets and all strikes, and all has met the target. And these targets are not ordinary targets. These targets are very specific military targets, which is further degrading Iran's ability to cause damage in this war to its adversary. So if this continues, then it is a foregone conclusion. And moreover, understand that Iran is now split. There is a faction that wants to have a deal with America and have a peace. But there is one faction that is led by IRGC, which is not ready. And therefore, there is an infighting as well.
That is right.
So it is a very good...
I just request Group Captain and Mr. Newman to stay on with us, because we are taking a short break right now. I want both our guests to stay. We will continue discussing this. Much more coming up, viewers, on the other side. Vote again in West Asia. Trump says ceasefire is over with Iran, calls Iranian liars and scum. Things looking out of control between America and Iran. Stay tuned.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है? आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट? स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और परेशान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
Shame on Meta. Shame on Mark Zuckerberg. Shame on every member of the senior management of Meta. Shame on the Indian bosses of Meta. And I'm not talking about some distant Silicon Valley scandal. I'm talking about what Meta is doing to children. I'm talking about what Meta is doing to our children. I'm talking about sexual abuse, pedophilia, and child pornography being encouraged by Mark Zuckerberg. I'm talking about the sexual abuse of toddlers, babies, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old children, about them being sexually abused and turned into commercial products to make Mark Zuckerberg richer by one of the richest companies on earth, which is so greedy that they want to market, commercialize, algorithmically encourage such child sexual abuse material, CSAM, to pedophiles. Mark Zuckerberg, is this what it's come down to? A commercial exploitation to promote pedophilia. This is a very serious matter because Meta, earlier known as Facebook, the parent company of Instagram and Facebook, has once more been caught red-handed. This time it is for commercializing pedophilia. Let me repeat that in case you are struck by disbelief. Meta has been caught red-handed commercializing pedophilia. Child sexual abuse material is very, very concerning. It's CSAM. Now this child sexual abuse material or CSAM content is running on Instagram, which is commercializing pedophilia, isn't it? These are not some shady links. Meta is earning money from them. CSAM content features children as young as 7 to 8 years old. We are allowing it. Meta is trying to be smart. Shut down Meta. Shut down Meta. Teach Meta a lesson. If it does not stop, punish them. Algorithmically, they are directing users to channels where sexual abuse material is being sold. This is not content moderation failure. This is not a mistake they don't know about. This is commercialization of child sexual abuse. If you push CSAM content on your platform and your algorithm leads this material to pedophiles, it's dangerous. This is not me saying it. It is the US court also in New Mexico which said that Meta has allowed Facebook and Instagram to become a marketplace for predators in search of children upon whom to prey. This is not negligence. This is active participation in the sexual exploitation of children for profit. And yet, despite openly defying the Indian government norms and the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology summoning them, the child abuse videos have not been taken down yet. Republic's investigative team has been finding out, and we find shockingly, that child abuse videos are still freely available now. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, we found 9 child abuse videos showing up in 5 minutes today. And we have been following this up, and when we follow it up, we are told we cannot remove this content because according to Facebook, this does not go against their community standards. What standards? Shame on Meta. What standards are these, Mark Zuckerberg? We want to know. And in America, they have been caught for similar stuff. There was a case in 2026 when the jury
I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people.
Top headlines. War again in West Asia. Trump says ceasefire is over, but Iran calls Iranian liars and big scums.
What is your reaction on the recent US attacks on Iran, and why don't you fear that this will overshadow this summit?
Well, I think it was absolutely necessary.
NATO, meanwhile, backs US strikes. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says strikes on Iran were absolutely necessary. Iranian Foreign Ministry US strike says ceasefire MOU grossly violated. Republic investigation forces Meta to issue detailed India-specific response on child sexual abuse content available on Facebook and Instagram. Meta goes all defensive, refuses to take ownership for removal of the child sexual abuse content after big Republic exposing. Meanwhile, Republic continues to investigate Meta child sexual abuse scandal after the social media giant refuses to take down disturbing content. Hello viewers, we are live and breaking. A very good evening. I'm Shivangi Shukla getting you the latest coming in. Getting you some big updates as escalation continues between Iran and United States. EU Aviation Agency tells airlines to avoid Iraq airspace. European Union Aviation Safety Agency has told the airlines that they should not operate within the airspace of Iran and Iraq until August 31st as US attacks on Iran are ongoing. The agency's previous warning, which expires on July 8th, included Lebanon. In fact, it had also asked airlines to exercise caution in the airspace of Bahrain, Kuwait, Israel, Jordan, Qatar, Oman, and UAE and Saudi Arabia. All right, let's go across to our guests who are joining us once again. Mr. Terry Newman, Chairman, Public Directors of BINA, Tel Aviv, is joining us, and then I think later on we'll be joined by other guests. Mr. Newman, now, like you said, this is not an MOU. In fact, it's now something else. You said it's a misunderstanding, not an understanding. Now, we talk about EU. EU is taking some precautions already because EU always wanted peace. They've tried their best. It's not happening. So they have told airlines to avoid Iran and Iraq. Yes, Mr. Newman.
But Europe hasn't wanted peace. Europe just hasn't wanted to get involved. Europe has just wanted the flow of oil to continue and for other people to do the dirty work of looking after the shipping lanes of the world. But if we stay within the context of the World Cup, America might have been kicked out of the World Cup. They lost their previous game. But if Iran is not playing by the rules, America is red carding them. They're saying enough is enough. J.D. Vance tried his best. He set up this MON, this Memorandum of Misunderstanding, and it hasn't worked. And therefore, America, that is still going to have to be the sheriff in the world, is giving as referee, is giving a red card to the Iranians. That's what we're seeing.
Right. What about NATO? NATO is saying that we will support US, but what does this really mean when NATO says they will support United States?
Well, if you take into account that there is currently meetings going on in Ankara, in the capital of Turkey, of NATO nations, well, Turkey said that they were going to get involved in the war on the side of Iran. Turkey currently have in large containers Russian S-400 missiles. So I'm not quite sure what the role of NATO is in this situation. And in actual fact, if you look at the build up to this war, Trump and America trusted more in Israel, in its Gulf allies, than it did in NATO itself. And I think that says a lot for the future of the NATO organization and where it's going.
That's right. In fact, NATO chief Mark Rutte has said that US strikes on Iran were absolutely necessary. We'll come back to that. We're getting some breaking news coming in for our viewers, Mr. Newman. So let's go ahead and tell our viewers what is happening. We'll talk about the US strikes at different ports in Iran. The Haqqani port, fresh visuals coming in from overnight strikes conducted at Iranian cities. This one is from the Haqqani area. US military completes a new round of attacks, striking 80 targets in Iran, including air defenses, radar sites, missile systems. 85 plus, more than 85 plus Iranian targets have been hit in strikes. That's a huge amount, Mr. Newman. I will come across to you. But before that, let's have a look at those visuals which show the strikes. Okay, there you go. Those are the visuals which are clearly showing the surge of attacks.
Whoa. Whoa. Whoa.
God.
All right, let's get some more breaking news coming in. We saw some videos from Central Command there, but let's talk about Iran. Ground input from Iran strike are more intense. Ground report from Iran strikes 5 times bigger than before. And Iran ground input says expect bigger response post-funeral. And Iran could be launching bigger offensive after the Khomeini funeral. So this is what we see right now from both sides, Mr. Newman. It's very obvious. And in the past, we have seen the same, that once US escalates, Iran escalates too. They outdo each other. Both parties do not back down. And that's exactly what we are seeing here, Mr. Newman. Yes, Mr. Terry Newman.
Yes, I mean, the Iranians are using what's called asymmetric warfare. They don't actually think that they can beat the strongest military force in the world, but what they're trying to do is suck America in. This goes to show again, despite over a month of attacks that were almost exclusively on military targets, Iran still has huge military power, which is why this regime has to be changed. They are, openly stating that they are a revolutionary Islamist regime that is trying to export their ideology to the rest of the Middle East. They've already taken over capitals of 4 other Middle Eastern countries. They've taken over Beirut, Syria, Baghdad, and in Yemen. Now in Syria, we've managed to get rid of them. In Beirut, there's currently the battle is going on, and there was just a deal signed between Israel and the Lebanese government, but we don't know whether we will succeed. And this is why they have to be removed. This regime is a cancer that's spreading its disease throughout the Middle East. And I would also be concerned as an Indian. You have a large and very impressive Shiite community there. You don't want that revolutionary ideology taking over and threatening India.
All right, Mr. Newman, I wanted to hold on for a second. We're getting some more breaking news coming in. Iran's statement on America's overnight strikes. Iran claims it targeted 85 U.S. military sites in Bahrain, Kuwait. Iran says ready for decisive action against U.S. violation. And like we were discussing earlier, Iran really not backing down here. And earlier we had spoken about Iran calling America a big bully. A big bully. This is what Iran is saying. And we're getting some more breaking news coming in. Let's go ahead to that. Speaking about bullying, Iran claims major violation of MOU by America. Iran claims US violating adjustments in Strait of Hormuz. Iran says the era of bullying and extortion is over. This is exactly what we were discussing. I want to go straight across to Mr. Newman, Terry Newman, again, who's joining us from Tel Aviv. Mr. Newman, let's talk about name calling here. Iran saying era of bullying and extortion is over. US President Trump saying the people of Iran itself is sick. They are scums, and he cannot even have proper negotiating talks with them. So name calling is back.
President Trump is correct. This is a revolutionary regime that took over a very successful Middle Eastern country. Iran has turned it into the Iranian revolutionary Islamist country that it is at the moment. And in the process suppressing 50% of the population, all of the women, and also large parts of the Azaris as well, and other minorities. It has destabilized and taken over large parts of Iraq, done the same in Syria, done the same in Beirut, done the same in Yemen. And President Trump has, despite being advised by many in his own cabinet not to deal with them, listened to Vice President Vance, and it appears Kushner and Witkoff went along the lines of this memorandum of misunderstanding, and it is now blowing up in everybody's faces. So for Iran to turn around and say that the Americans are the bullies is absolute madness. If Iran hadn't been bullying the entire region, then America wouldn't have needed to come here in the first place.
That's right. I wanted to hold on for a second there, Mr. Newman. We're getting some more breaking news coming in for our viewers. Iranian media publishes footage of Iran's pre-dawn retaliation as the IRGC answers U.S. latest breach of the ceasefire. So one more big breaking news coming in here on Republic TV. In fact, these are the retaliatory strikes that you see on your screen. Exclusive pictures only on Republic TV showing you Iran's retaliatory strikes. This is a video. This is a pre-dawn retaliation. And speaking of IRGC, Mr. Newman, I'm going to come across to you. IRGC has announced new maritime rules to tighten control over the Arabian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz waters. Once again, they are launching these strikes, and we are also getting so many reports. In fact, it is being said that the IRGC has more control than it should, and they are behind these escalations as well.
Yes, I mean, what is going on in the Straits of Hormuz is a blatant breach of international law. Under international law, international waterways belong to nobody. They are free to maritime traffic. You're allowed to take tolls on internal shipping lanes, so shipping lanes that pass solely through your own country. So, as an example, the Suez Canal passes solely through Egypt, so they can take a toll. But in the Arab or Persian Gulf, this touches so many countries. It touches Oman, it touches the UAE, it touches Bahrain, it touches Saudi Arabia, it touches Kuwait, it touches Qatar. So who are the Iranians to come and say that everything there belongs to them? It's an outrageous comment. It's international piracy, and they should be treated as the international pirates that they are, and given a red card, as the CENTCOM and the American military and the American government is now correctly doing.
That's right. I want to play out that video of Iranian strikes. Let's play it out for you, viewers. To my colleague Amrita is also joining us. Mr. Newman will come back to you, but Amrita is joining us from a Republic newsroom. Amrita, what we see is that IRGC has said that yes, we are still controlling Strait of Hormuz, and we saw visuals of the retaliatory strikes by Iran. Amrita, what else do we have for our viewers?
That's right, Shivangi, and Iran has also responded, and they have also released statements. The Fars News Agency, and they have in fact released these visuals of the attack, and you can that we just saw of one attack that hit around dawn today in the morning, and this after US has claimed that Iran has violated the MOU between the two nations, and Iran continues to allege US has violated, citing that there's several sites have been struck along the Strait of Hormuz. Now, with this latest visuals that we are also tracking from the Fars News Agency, these are images of the dawn attack. This was by the Navy and Aerospace Force of the IRGC, and they said that this was in response to the aggression and the breach of the promise that was made by America's army. That's what they said. They have called the American army very other names as well, which I will not utter on screen here. And this after the MOU has now been that we can now say that is subsequently completely collapsed. Now this, Shivangi, we can now take this on this statement itself that the MOU that was struck in Islamabad and the further talks in Zurich has not come to force. And now we're also getting reports that Iran is also preparing for further retaliation after the funeral ceremony of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, their former supreme leader. We know that there has been a week-long ceremony that's being prepared for the final goodbye by the people of Iran. And we're also getting reports that they will now be finally finally responding back to these retaliatory attacks by the US and saying that this retaliatory actions will not go mute, will not remain unanswered, and they're saying that they will definitely come back on more aggression to this after the funeral processions and funeral ceremonies are over. Back to you, Shivangi.
That's right. I want to take a final response from Mr. Newman. Mr. Newman, I also want to ask you that we are still waiting for some reactions to come in from Israel. And since you're in Tel Aviv, would you tell our viewers how is Israel reacting to this escalation?
Well, Israel is not surprised. We unfortunately have had to be dealing with this regime now for over 50 years. And we understand who they are, what they want. And, they view America as the great Satan, the big Satan, and Israel as the small Satan. So they've been going after us in order to stage one to then go after America as stage two. So it's a sad state of affairs that we have to deal with evil like this in the world, but we've had to deal with evil like this in the past. Humanity deals with it, and then it will move on. But I expect us to be going through a choppy period in the upcoming months.
Right. I'm getting some more breaking news coming in, Mr. Newman. Let's go across to that. Iran says the Indian oil tanker turned back from Oman corridor in Hormuz. Iran says Indian oil tanker turns back from Hormuz. Indian tanker turns back from Oman corridor. Reports coming in. Okay, not a surprise because, Mr. Newman, we were just discussing that IRGC is saying that, in fact, I'll go to Amrita, my colleague, on this, Mr. Newman, and then I'll come across to you. Amrita, not a surprise. IRGC just told a few hours ago that they are controlling Strait of Hormuz. Now, Iran says Indian oil tankers turning back from the Oman corridor. Amrita.
That's right, Shivangi. I think with this latest escalation and war resuming back, Iran has once again tried to take a major stake, a major control over the Strait of Hormuz once again, as they did even during the onset of the war when it began in February, and also during the time while negotiations was also going on. Iran continued to maintain control over the Strait of Hormuz, and we know what were the consequences globally. The oil prices shot up even today. After this news broke out, oil prices shot up about 6%. And now, in the latest, Iran has said that Indian tanker has been turned back in off the coast of Oman. We know that there are several other Indian flag tankers across the Omani Gulf. That's across this region near the Strait of Hormuz. In fact, and even Shivangi, just a few weeks ago, there have been various escalations of this Omani coast, which is another flashpoint. Now, this is just ahead of the Strait of Hormuz on the map, and now Iran is trying to stake claim over and their control over again. And by turning back an Indian oil tanker, Iran is once again claiming control of that region. And it remains to be seen how the Indian Ministry of External Affairs will respond to that. And this again raises serious questions and how its consequences will be felt across the globe once again. Shivangi.
That is right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Amrita, and thank you, Mr. Terry Newman, Chairman, Public Directors of BINA from Tel Aviv. Thank you so much for joining us and decoding for us the escalation. And we have to move ahead, viewers. We're getting some more updates coming in right here from Maharashtra. 14, we'll go to that breaking next. 14 trapped in building collapse in Maharashtra. In Maharashtra, building collapses in Pimpri Chinchwad. According to the information coming in, viewers, 14 persons are said to be stranded under the debris. Fire brigade officials have rushed to the spot and the rescue operations have already begun in this case. So there's a building collapse near Pune amid the very heavy rain. Remember, monsoon fury has hit Maharashtra, and because of that, we are reporting continuously from the ground, telling you about some of the mishaps which have been happening. So 14 are trapped in building collapse in Maharashtra in Pimpri Chinchwad near Pune. According to the information, 14 people are said to be stranded. Rescue relief operations have begun. You can see the visuals on your screen. The fire brigade officials have rushed to the spot and the rescue operations have begun. If you were taking a short break, do not go anywhere. War again in West Asia, Trump says. Ceasefire is over with Iran and calls Iranians liars and scums. President Trump calls Iranians liars, scum, sick people. This is one of the biggest updates we're getting for you in terms of the escalation. Stay tuned. We are live and breaking.
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
AU सेविंग्स अकाउंट में मिलते हैं अमेजिंग बेनिफिट्स, पेपरलेस बैंकिंग एंड हायर इंटरेस्ट, वो भी हर महीने।
मनी 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 एवरी मंथ।
सोच बदलो और बैंक भी।
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा से MTH का जलजीरा जीरा से।
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to listen to a scream. A scream coming from across the line of control. A scream coming from the tortured, hungry and angry people of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. And I want to tell them tonight, that we are with you. I want you to notice the genocide that is going on in Pak-occupied Kashmir. Ladies and gentlemen, Kashmiris are being massacred. There is an open genocide, non-stop firing, grenades being hurled as thousands of people, including women, children and elderly, continue to fight against the ISI regime. They had gathered in the Sardar Ghulam Hussain.
Much coming up, viewers. We are live and breaking. War again in West Asia. Trump says ceasefire with Iran is over. Calls Iranians liars, scum and sick people.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया?
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा, सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to listen to a scream. A scream coming from across the line of control. A scream coming from the tortured, hungry and angry people of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. And I want to tell them tonight, that we are with you. I want you to notice the genocide that is going on in Pak-occupied Kashmir. Ladies and gentlemen, Kashmiris are being massacred. There is an open genocide, non-stop firing.
War again in West Asia. Trump says ceasefire over with Iran. Calls Iranians liars and scums.
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है? आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट। क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
Shame on Meta. Shame on Mark Zuckerberg. Shame on every member of the senior management of Meta. Shame on the Indian bosses of Meta. And I'm not talking about some distant Silicon Valley scandal. I'm talking about what Meta is doing to children. I'm talking about what Meta is doing to our children. I'm talking about sexual abuse, pedophilia, and child pornography being encouraged by Mark Zuckerberg. I'm talking about the sexual abuse of toddlers, babies, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old children, about them being sexually abused and turned into commercial products to make Mark Zuckerberg richer by one of the richest companies on earth, which is so greedy that they want to market, commercialize, algorithmically encourage such child sexual abuse material, CSAM, to pedophiles. Mark Zuckerberg, is this what it's come down to? A commercial exploitation to promote pedophilia. This is a very serious matter because Meta, earlier known as Facebook, the parent company of Instagram and Facebook, has once more been caught red-handed. This time it is for commercializing pedophilia. Let me repeat that in case you are struck by disbelief. Meta has been caught red-handed commercializing pedophilia. Child sexual abuse material is very, very concerning. It's CSAM. Now this child sexual abuse material or CSAM content is running on Instagram, which is commercializing pedophilia, isn't it? These are not some shady...
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hello viewers, a very good evening. We are live, we are breaking. I'm Shivangi Shukla getting you the latest coming in. US President Trump says that the ceasefire is over. He is calling Iran scum, sick people, and says that he doesn't have any expectation. Big updates coming in. Escalation continues between Iran and US. We'll tell you everything you need to know, but the headlines first. Let's get started.
I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people.
War again in West Asia. Trump says ceasefire is over. Veteran calls Iranian liars and big scums.
What's your reaction on the recent US attacks on Iran, and why don't you fear that this will overshadow this summit?
Well, I think it was absolutely necessary.
NATO, meanwhile, backs US strikes. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says strikes on Iran were absolutely necessary. Iranian Foreign Ministry says US strikes and ceasefire was grossly violated by the ceasefire. Republic investigation forces Meta to issue detailed India-specific response on child sexual abuse content available on Facebook and Instagram. Meta goes all defensive, refuses to take ownership for removal of child sexual abuse content after big Republic expose. Meanwhile, Republic continues to investigate in Meta child sexual abuse scandal after the social media giant refuses to take down disturbing content. Hello viewers, let's go and tell you and show you some pictures. That is right, Iran's pre-dawn retaliation as the IRGC answers US latest breach of the ceasefire. What is happening right now as we speak? is very, very clearly an escalation between Iran and the US. You can see the pictures which have been posted, exclusive pictures which are coming in first on Republic TV, where we see that IRGC is holding these or firing these strikes towards US bases specifically. US-Iran strikes have resumed and both sides have accused each other once again. The blame game is back. I repeat, the blame game is back. Both sides have accused each other of violating the Memorandum of Understanding which was signed in June itself. The US launching strikes on Iran, Iran launching counter-strikes on US bases. Okay, let's go straight across to a guest who's joining us. Dr. Daniel Pipes, Middle East historian and strategic affairs commentator from Florida, USA. Thank you for joining us here. I want to come across to you and Doctor, and really understand, Dr. Pipes, that what exactly are we seeing on our screens? We see that both Iran and the US have stepped up attacks on each other. What happened to the MOU, Dr. Pipes?
The MOU was an almost complete capitulation by the United States government to the Islamic Republic of Iran. It's deeply unpopular in the United States. The president is aware that it is unpopular, and so therefore he has decided more or less to end it. Now, with Donald Trump, you never know quite what he's going to do next, but he has both officially ended the Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU, and also sent his negotiators to talk to the Iranians. So it's chaos, as it has been now in this war since it began in late February. It's complete chaos. The Iranian leadership, in contrast to Trump, is very determined. It's split, but it's very determined in its different ways. And the reason why the Iranian regime has not kept to the MOU, which by objective standards would seem to be a wonderful deal for it, is because there are elements, strong elements within the regime that wish to press further and get more advantage. There's a debate in Iran. Should they accept this excellent ending, or should they go for even more? And it looks like those who want to go for even more are determined to get it. I think it's a big mistake on the Iranian side, but don't ask me to predict what Donald Trump is going to do. Nobody knows, including himself.
Absolutely, but it is a big chaos, Dr. Pipes, like you are saying. I really wanted to hold on, Dr. Pipes. We're getting some more breaking news coming in right now for our viewers. UAE Presidential Advisor Anwar Gargash condemned Iran's attacks on Qatari and Saudi commercial tankers in Strait of Hormuz, along with repeated aggression against Bahrain and Kuwait, stating that these actions show Tehran remains incapable of committing to de-escalation and turning the page on war. He emphasized the Gulf Arab states cannot continue to serve as targets for Iran's wavering between escalation and the path of rationality, stability and peace. Okay, so we will be getting our viewers all these updates coming in. UAE is condemning the strikes, Iran attack on Qatar and Saudi tankers. Let's go back to Dr. Pipes, who's joining us. Dr. Pipes, once again, we see that when it comes to the Middle East region, we have seen some countries within the Middle East have condemned Iranian strikes. We have seen that earlier as well. Dr. Pipes, what I'm trying to ask you is that, is Iran only concerned with US bases in the Middle East, or do they have any other agenda in mind?
Oh, certainly a much grander agenda than pushing out American forces from West Asia. The Iranians wish to dominate the region and indeed the world. They have unlimited ambitions. So getting rid of American bases is just the first very small step towards that much, much larger goal.
Yes. Yes. Dr. Pipes, you're speaking about, I just want to go back to what is happening in the Middle East. Speaking about the funeral of the slain Supreme Leader Khomeini, that is also something that we will be talking about here on Republic TV. Do you think that it's a farewell, of the Supreme Leader Khomeini, the former Supreme Leader, that is happening live as we speak? Or is Iran trying to send a geopolitical message to the region through Khomeini's funeral?
Well, both. It is both an emotional farewell from his few supporters, though they seem to be many because they've been pushed to be on the streets. It's also, more importantly, a statement of intent that we are not just as strong as he was, but we are stronger. And indeed, they are even more hostile to the United States and to Israel than Khamenei, the father, was. So it's a new regime. And it's one which has much smaller influence from the religious leadership and much more from the military leadership, the IRGC that you mentioned earlier. It is essentially a military regime at this point with a clerical overlay, a clerical window dressing.
That's right. Okay. Dr. Pipes, I really wanted to hold on for a second there. We're getting some reactions coming in from EU foreign policy chief. So we'll get to know what the EU is thinking about this. EU is saying that Iran's attacks on ships near the Strait of Hormuz violate its commitments under the Memorandum of Understanding, calling its attack on Bahrain, Kuwait unacceptable, and adding that EU foreign ministers will meet Gulf counterparts next Monday to discuss implementing the agreement and preserving freedom of navigation. Iran's strike on Bahrain and Kuwait unacceptable. EU foreign ministers to hold a meeting next Monday. Dr. Pipes, thinking about and getting EU back in the picture. The European Union has always asked for de-escalation. This is what they have been saying. In fact, when the MOU was signed between Iran and US, many EU nations said they will lift sanctions from Iran. But now, how do you see things progressing forward?
Well, I think the Europeans are unhappily going along with the United States because they want lower energy prices, and also because there is a NATO meeting as we speak in Ankara, Turkey, and they want to please Trump. They don't want to aggravate him. They don't want him to say, I'm finished with NATO, I'm pulling all American troops from Europe. So I think it's got both a larger and a smaller, more direct, immediate purpose, which is to appease Donald Trump.
That's okay. All right. Okay, Dr. Pipes, I really want you to hold on for a second there. We will talk about what's happening in Iran. Ground reports from Iran indicate that recent strikes have become far more intense and repeat up to 5 times larger than before, prompting expectations of a significantly bigger Iranian response once Khomeini's funeral ceremonies conclude. And strikes will become more intense. Iran saying that this is the beginning. After Khomeini's funeral ceremonies conclude, Amrita, I'm getting you in right now, our colleague from Republic Newsroom. Iran making it clear that after Khomeini's funeral is over, which is happening right now as we speak, things are going to get much worse in terms of strikes from Iran's side. Yes, Amrita, that's a warning coming in.
That's right, Shivangi. A big warning, and also a kind of a that we can expect that something that we can expect that this war resumption after about a few lull during the negotiation period might be even more intense than it was the last time. This is a big warning. Even though Donald Trump has said that Iran has decimated Iran's nuclear weapons, Iran's missile and missile silos have all been decimated. Now Iran once again says that after the funeral ceremonies of the former Supreme Leader is concluded that they will strike more, and now they are saying that this strike will be 5 times more intense, and they are not backing down, which is even more concerning, because US has and NATO asked the United States President is meeting with NATO allies even as we speak in Turkey, and they are also discussing about these things. And we know that recently, just moments ago, Pete Hegseth has turned back on a scheduled visit from Israel, going back to America, and saying that that's also in the preparation for such war deployment and how the US will be tackling these latest escalations. And now Iran is also not backing down, which raises a big concern. They're saying that, in fact, up to 5 times larger than before. How might that be? Because already with this latest escalation today, there have been severe consequences. The Strait of Hormuz remains blocked. It's a de facto blocked, as we can say that just moments ago an Indian flag tanker has been turned back And now with global oil prices now continues to shoot up, and with this 5 times more intense escalations, if it breaks out, the world watches as another region, as another war engulfs the region of West Asian war. More casualties definitely will be seen, and if possible, it may be right to avert it. But with Donald Trump's stance saying that MOU is now completely over, it raises a huge alarm, with Iran also not backing down, saying that they will be retaliating back once the funeral procession of their supreme leader is over. Back to you, Shivangi.
That's right. I also want to go back to Dr. Pipes on this. Dr. Pipes, I have so much to ask on this. But let's talk a little bit more about Dr. Pipes, that what President Trump said. President Trump said negotiating is going on, negotiations are going on, but they are yielding no results. And he is also saying that Iran will continue making nuclear weapons. Iran has never said they will make nuclear weapons, but that's what President Trump believes is going to happen. And this is happening when both US and Iran were supposed to come down to details and understanding when it comes to uranium enrichment.
The Iranians have always denied that they're planning to build a bomb, yet their actions have been consistent with intending to build a bomb, an atomic or nuclear weapon. So the rhetoric coming out of Iran tends to be discounted by any serious analyst who says, look at what they're doing, not at what they're saying. But the nuclear aspect is only one dimension. Many believe that the original impulse was to overthrow the regime in Iran. That clearly did not happen, and indeed seems further away than ever, as the popular uprising that took place in December and January has been nowhere to be seen since the fighting began on February 28th. So the regime is in place, more determined, more hardline than ever.
Yes.
And Donald Trump is faced with this conundrum. What does he do when his action to end the war has failed, and now the prospect of his party losing even more in the November elections becomes ever more a prospect that he has to deal with.
Okay, that's right. Okay, I will stay with this, Dr. Pipes. Getting some more breaking news coming in for our viewers. In a statement on America's overnight strikes, Iran claimed it targeted 85 U.S. military sites in Bahrain, Kuwait, while declaring itself ready for decisive action in response to what it called U.S. violation. Now, Iran has said, Dr. Pipes, Iran has said that America is a bully. America is a bully. America likes to bend rules. This is something that Iran has been saying many times. In fact, Iran accused America of major violation of the Memorandum of Understanding and Adjustments agreed for the Strait of Hormuz, declaring that the era of bullying and extortion is over as tensions escalate following recent strikes. Big update coming in here, viewers of Republic TV. I want to go back to our guest, Dr. Pipes, joining us back. Dr. Pipes, we see that Trump has called Iranians lies, cheats, sick people, and Iran is calling President Trump and America a big bully. They said that America bullies, they like bending rules. Once again, we have gone back to name calling. Not the first time, it's happening again and again. Do you think, for now, diplomacy is dead, at least for now?
No, I don't think so. I think both sides continue to have an interest in it, though the distance between their positions is large and indeed getting larger. So it does not seem like diplomacy has a chance at present. It looks like there needs to be more war and more conclusions drawn from that war before one or the other side makes concessions. The first time around, Donald Trump made concessions. Will he do it a second time? Stay tuned.
That's right. Dr. Pipes, hold on for a second there. Let's talk about NATO. NATO is saying we will stand behind America. NATO Secretary General says 5,000 aircraft have flown from Europe to support military operations against Iran. This is what NATO is saying. And I want to come back to you, sir, Dr. Pipes, but I want to play out that statement first.
And when it comes to Iran, I know you're disappointed. We discussed it a couple of weeks ago. I would say these are isolated cases. 5,000 planes taking off from European airports in support of Epic Fury. It was Europe as one big platform of power projection for the United States, helping with Epic Fury, including countries you mentioned, Germany from day one, France, and many others. We discussed the Bucharest airport, which was closed for a couple of days for commercial traffic because you needed it for Epic Fury, and they were totally
United
fine.
Kingdom wouldn't let us use the island for 2 weeks, so we had to fly back.
No, so I'm saying you're right. There are isolated
and
cases.
Italy was very bad, having to do with their bases, as you know, and a couple of others. So
But still, generally 5,000 is huge. And you mentioned Spain. Even you got Spain to pay 2%. They made a huge step in last year. So there's still issues we have to solve. But hey, also even on Spain, I would say they go to the 2%. And when it comes to Iran, I know you are disappointed. We discussed it a couple of weeks ago. I would say these are isolated cases. 5,000 planes taking off from European airports in support of Epic Fury. It was Europe as one big platform of power projection for the United States, helping with Epic Fury, including countries you mentioned, Germany from day one, France, and many others. We discussed the Bucharest airport, which was closed for a couple of days for commercial traffic because you needed it for Epic Fury, and they were totally
United
fine.
Kingdom wouldn't let us use the island for 2 weeks, so we had to fly back.
No, so I'm saying you're right. There are isolated
and
cases.
Italy was very bad, having to do with their bases, as you know, and a couple of others. So
But still, generally 5,000 is huge. And you mentioned Spain. Even you got Spain to pay 2%. They made a huge step in last year. So there's still issues we have to solve. But hey, also even on Spain, I would say they go to the 2%.
Dr. Pipes, we heard what NATO said. That was Mark Rutte talking. And what exactly is happening between Trump and NATO? Because NATO is saying that the strikes were necessary against Iran. That's what he said. But in the past, Donald Trump has said he's very, very disappointed with NATO, saying that some NATO members are refusing to support U.S. military objectives. So what is the relationship between NATO and America, U.S. right now?
Well, Trump's attitude is that the Europeans are rich and they should pay much more for their own defense than they have been doing over the past, especially 3 decades. He has a point. It's correct. The Europeans have not invested in military as they should have. But at this point, what you see, what we now saw twice, is the head of NATO, the Secretary General, Mark Rutte, appeasing Trump, saying, look, we're making every effort, and Trump being still bristly and unhappy and wanting more. This is what that summit is about, is the Europeans, as led by Mark Rutte, saying, look, Donald Trump, we are doing what you wish. Please pay attention. Please be grateful. Please work with us. And he's saying, well, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not happy. So it's a drama where Trump has the cards, as it were, in terms of being the key coordinate within NATO, and the rest of NATO saying, please, please, we're paying attention to you. We really care about you. We love you. And he's not convinced.
All right, yes. So there is definitely a lot of to and fro between NATO and America as well, like Dr. Pipes is saying. Thank you, Dr. Pipes. This is a complicated relationship and a complicated situation evolving. But I have to go back to what is happening back here home. Ramesh Mahatre, I repeat, Ramesh Mahatre has been arrested by the Dombivli police. This is in connection with a shocking incident caught on camera. Shiv Sena cooperator Ramesh Mahatre and his associate allegedly assaulted 2 doctors, including a female doctor and 3 female nurses at the KDMC's Shastri Nagar Hospital and the incident has now stemmed from a dispute after doctors advised transferring a pregnant woman for delivery due to occupied NICU beds. Mahatre arrived with supporters, verbally abused staff and physically attacked them, while associates restrained security guards, hospital nurses and staff were left in tears, prompting doctors and nurses to launch a work stoppage protest, halting routine services. Huge updates coming in here. Sena cooperator Mahatre has been arrested after much hue and cry. Revati, after much hue and cry, after many protests, finally action has been taken. Even the Maharashtra government had said that action will be taken. The cooperator who assaulted doctors, like we see on those screens, has been arrested. Big action taken. Yes, Revati.
Right, as you rightly mentioned, now the person who assaulted a doctor and a doctor named Vaibhav in KDMC's hospital now has been arrested after 24 hours of FIR was registered against him. But now, along with other three, Ramesh Matri, who is the Shiv Sena Shinde-led faction corporator, is now arrested by the Dombivli police. He will be presented before the court tomorrow, which is by law before 24 hours. The accused needs to be presented before the court. The same procedure will happen, and now it will be important to see that what statement does he give, because in the morning while talking to the media, while addressing the media, he said that I can firmly say that I haven't touched any lady, because the lady doctor, Shushti, whose name is Shushti, she is like a daughter to me. So she is my daughter's age actually. So I can firmly say that I haven't touched her. So now it will be important to see that whether they will what does he state in his
absolutely, Revati. Revati, thank you for getting us all those details. Republic keeps you on top of every update coming in. I'm taking a short break, viewers. The big global headline: war back in West Asia. Trump says ceasefire is over, with Iran calls Iranians liars and scum, and Iranian call Trump a big bully.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ, स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
AU सेविंग्स अकाउंट में मिलते हैं अमेजिंग बेनिफिट्स, पेपरलेस बैंकिंग एंड हायर इंटरेस्ट, वो भी हर महीने।
मनी 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 एवरी मंथ। सोच बदलो और बैंक भी। आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता, उबालो, मिलाओ और खाओ, 8 मिनट में तैयार। क्या टेस्ट है, सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
यानी इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
प्यास बुझाए, ठंडक लाए, सबको भाए जीरा से। MTH का जलजीरा जीरा से।
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
Tonight, I would like to warn you that the situation in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir is becoming extremely grim. We are getting reports almost every day of the continuing butchery of the Munir army. Asif Munir has told his army and told the security forces and his rangers and the Pakistani army to sharpen their guns against unarmed civilians. Ladies and gentlemen, Asif Munir is planning and preparing for an even bigger bloodbath in POK. Just hours before the all or nothing march called by the free people of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir on 9th July, Asif Munir's army and the rangers are preparing to carry out another genocide. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, on the 5th of July, when thousands of Kashmiri men, women, children and even the elderly came out peacefully to participate with fight flags, the Pakistan army was surprised to see the numbers increase in Abbaspur, Rawalkot and Muzaffarabad. If you are watching this tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to tell you that this has become an unstoppable protest. These civilians are only asking for electricity and flour, that is atta, from the dams, electricity from the dams they themselves produce power from. What did they get in return? Live bullets, tear gas shells. Ladies and gentlemen, the park rangers and security forces opened fire on these unarmed civilians. Pakistan's forces opened fire. They didn't use tear gas, they used live ammunition on their own people. And things are potentially going to get worse, because we know that at least 1,500 people have already been arrested. Omar Abdullah, Mehbooba Mufti, all these fake Kashmiri leaders, the people of POK are asking them to speak up for them, but they're looking the other way because Mehbooba Mufti needs the permission of the ISI to open her mouth. Ladies and gentlemen, she will not speak for Kashmiris. My dear viewers, a senior JAAC leader whose clips have gone viral, Sardar Aman Khan, has been forced to appeal. He says, should we...
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा सबका राजा आरती और मसाला।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है। स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
Shame on Meta. Shame on Mark Zuckerberg. Shame on every member of the senior management of Meta. Shame on the Indian bosses of Meta. And I'm not talking about some distant Silicon Valley scandal. I'm talking about what Meta is doing to children. I'm talking about what Meta is doing to our children. I'm talking about sexual abuse, pedophilia, and child pornography being encouraged by Mark Zuckerberg. I'm talking about the sexual abuse of toddlers, babies, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old children, about them being sexually abused and turned into commercial products to make Mark Zuckerberg richer by one of the richest companies on earth, which is so greedy that they want to market, commercialize, algorithmically encourage such child sexual abuse material, CSAM, to pedophiles. Mark Zuckerberg, is this what it's come down to? A commercial exploitation to promote pedophilia. This is a very serious matter because Meta, earlier known as Facebook, the parent company of Instagram and Facebook, has once more been caught red-handed. This time it is for commercializing pedophilia. Let me repeat that in case you are struck by disbelief. Meta has been caught red-handed commercializing pedophilia. Child sexual abuse material is very, very concerning. It's CSAM. Now this child sexual abuse material or CSAM content is running on Instagram, which is commercializing pedophilia, isn't it?
I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people.
Liars, scum, and that they are sick.
Action on the recent US attacks on Iran, and why don't you fear that this will overshadow this summit?
Well, I think it was absolutely necessary.
NATO, meanwhile, backs US strikes. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says strikes on Iran were absolutely necessary. Iranian Foreign Minister says that ceasefire MOU grossly violated, will hit back. Republican investigation forces Meta to issue detailed India-specific response on child sexual abuse content available on Facebook and Instagram. Meta goes all defensive, refuses to take ownership for removal of child sexual abuse content after Big Republic expose. Meanwhile, Republic TV continues to investigate Meta child sexual abuse scandal after the social media giant refuses to take down disturbing content. Very warm welcome, viewers. You're watching Republic TV and I'm Rakshita Mishra with you. Let's start with what's happening in West Asia. Now, the European Union Foreign Policy Chief, Kaja Kallas, has said that Iranians' attacks on ships near the Strait of Hormuz violated the commitments under the Memorandum of Understanding, calling it attacks on Bahrain and Kuwait unacceptable, and adding that EU foreign ministers, the European Union foreign ministers, will meet the Gulf counterparts next Monday to discuss the implementing of the agreement and preserving the freedom of navigation. And that's the breaking news we have right now. We're getting in an update from European Union. We have OR Shaked joining us from New York right now. How do you see this development that's coming in as we see the war? The ceasefire has collapsed. It was anyway fragile, Mr. Shaked. And now the European Union also comes in and says that it's condemnable Iranian attacks on ships. NATO is also, this time at least verbally, backing Donald Trump.
Yes. So first of all, thank you for having me, and good evening and good morning from New York. So as far as the recent developments, I think that the recent statements made by Trump at the NATO Summit in Turkey are largely performative. They do display Trump's growing dissatisfaction from the talks and some of the hurdles that were put along the way by the Iranians, by their consistent attacks on tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. But I don't necessarily see that as something that is like the deal breaker. If history shows, once Trump decided to really go to the path of negotiations in this 60-day period, he wasn't necessarily looking at other options and wanted to focus on that rather than kinetic strikes that were apparent before. So yes, it does reflect his growing impatience and dissatisfactions, but I really don't see that at that threshold of attacks, especially after the American response, that we see that as a complete break of the MOU. I think that the Iranians also responded in a performative way, rather than something that means that this entire negotiation process is over.
Mr. Shaked, in fact, we also see that how the Middle East, the West Asian countries like Kuwait are also now facing strikes, and the world is now concerned, as we see this right after this statement. The oil prices have jumped up, and now while we were waiting for some relief, it seems that we are bracing for a deeper crisis, isn't it, as far as the oil and energy supply is concerned?
Of course. I mean, all of these Iranian aggression actions have, created an imbalance in the oil market once again. Don't forget that one of the things that the U.S. was caring for very much as part of this negotiation process with the Iranians is the ability to keep the supply chains normalized, just as it was before the war started in February. And at this point, it seems like there's diminishing returns as far as it pertains to the continuation of the negotiations. I also think that there are many things that need to be taken into account when the U.S. moves forward into the prospect of more kinetic strikes on the Iranian regime. And that, of course, has to do with the overall dissatisfaction that has been shown pretty consistently among the American public domestically as it pertains to the war. But if Trump can go ahead and make the argument that regardless of whether things escalate with Iran or not, kinetically, there would be problems economically in terms of the oil supply chain, then maybe that would strengthen actually the case to further its strikes on the Iranian regime.
All right. So just stay on with us, Mr. Shaukat. We have some breaking news also coming in. Now, UAE's presidential advisor Anwar Gargash has condemned the Iranian attacks on Qatari and Saudi commercial tankers in the Strait of Hormuz, along with repeated aggression against Bahrain and Kuwait, saying that these actions clearly show that Tehran remains incapable of committing to de-escalation and turning the page on war. He also emphasized that Gulf Arab states cannot continue to serve as targets for the Iranian wavering between escalation and the path of rationality, stability and peace. So this is the situation that we saw just months back, and we again see that Iranian attacks, in fact, we see the presidential advisor saying that there is condemning this strike. We have some more updates coming in fact, right now. And the Iranian media has published the footage of Iran's pre-dawn retaliation as well. So we're going to show you that. Let's break that first. We have pre-dawn retaliation that is being, the footage of which that is being published by Iran as Iranian media. And IRGC answered the US's latest breach of the ceasefire. That's what that is Iranian media citing it to be. And this is the visual that is coming in courtesy Iranian media.